Hi, Mark here from the Tangibound Podcast Network and host of the flagship show, the Tangibound Podcast. Did you know that we over at Tangibound are always looking for amazing podcasts to promote? And did you also know that we are also proud nerds and geeks of everything from movies, music, gaming, TV shows, and comic books to wrestling, MMA, soccer, and football? Whatever you can nerd or geek out about, we've got it. And if you're interested, we can help you find it. And if you're a show looking for a place to call home, we've got you covered. Side effects may include upset stomach, dizziness, tumors, shakes, and in some rare cases, death from excessive laughter. Though to be fair, it's only sometimes. Other side effects may include diarrhea, gallstones, heart palpitations, and strong desire for cookies on the dark side. Talk to your doctor and visit TangiboundNetwork.com and see if Tangibound Network is right for you.
This is a Danger Entertainment podcast. DangerEntertainment.net. Danger Entertainment Podcast Network.
Hey hooligans, this is Michael.
This is Michelle.
This is Jeremy.
From Who the What Now?
The show about
strange stories from the internet.
And Bigfoot came over and beat his ass. He knocked him around a little bit, and he just kind of went limp, and Bigfoot left.
pop culture.
Jean-Claude Van Clam.
I thought
Jean-Claude Van Clam was supposed to be the alien in Predator. Mm-hmm. And did a jump splits and ended up with his batch right in the dude's face.
That's his
do I get the part?
In our crazy lives.
I'm like, oh, there's a cat on my back. And then all of a sudden I feel something. I feel a furry paw go down my ass crack. Just slide right down my ass crack. I was like, what are you doing?
You can catch us on all your favorite podcast applications.
Spotify,
iTunes,
Libsyn,
iHeartRadio,
Stitcher,
your mamas. And wherever else they have quality podcasts.
So don't miss out on the next
Who the What Now?
Welcome to the podcast from Temperance Town, the sexiest podcast of world renowned. Tony grows a beard to hide his chin, swaps it with Earl so it glistens.
Salty, salty language, kings of the sexy frontier.
Download the pod, you won't get enough of these dapper chaps talking deadly fluff. In Hobo Gulch they run a homeless mission, clanging and banging with the pentagram of kittens.
Salty, salty language, kings of the sexy frontier.
They enjoy their whiskey and local craft beer. By Odin's unkempt pubis we give a cheer. Tony's a raccoon when he's booziest. Don't be a savage, be an enthusiast.
Salty, salty language, kings of the sexy frontier.
On the frozen tundra they call it a lock. Tony likes to masturbate in a sock. Brian pisses rocks cause it feels so great. I still don't know who the fuck is Tate.
Salty, salty language, kings of the sexy frontier.
The boys will let you know when there's a Spurler. Due to male pattern baldness, they don't wear curlers. Stay salty, people, that's their closing line. And don't forget, have a beer, you'll be fine.
Salty, salty language, kings of the sexy frontier. Salty, salty language, kings of the sexy frontier. Salty
Hey enthusiasts, what's happening? This is Salty Language, episode 405.
sexiest podcast on the network.
Good to see the cheering section still there. I'm Brian, and joining me instead of Tony this week is once again competent board work provided by Heno.
Howdy, y'all.
Yeah.
I had because I still have the Careless Whisper in there,
Right.
And I was like, you know what? I needed something more saxy. I'm like, oh, that's terrible. That's a horrible joke. I got to do it.
Right. Even without meaning for it to be, you were just like, I need something with more sax, but I need something sexier.
I need some more sax.
A little sexy. Yeah. Oh my.
Yeah.
Yeah. That nailed it. That was certainly plenty sexy.
Yeah. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna need the drummer thing.
Oh yeah, totally. Oh man. So yeah, no Tony this week. He's off.
What's he doing?
Doing work stuff. So he had to work all weekend. So whatever. Dead to us. No, I'm kidding.
Wow, you're dumping him in with fucking Brigger?
Oh, you're right. I probably shouldn't do that. That's not fair to
No,
Brigger.
you got to reserve that. Yeah.
Right. I mean, who?
Yeah, exactly. That's more like it.
Oh man,
I don't know who you're talking about.
Right. Oh man. So how you been?
Okay. Yeah.
Fair enough.
It's just took the car down on Friday. Okay, you need a new water pump. Sharon's car was leaking some fluid,
mm-hmm.
and we just had recall work done on it for leaks, and evidently there's some issue with leaks in the Ford Escape of this year.
Okay. And
so I was like, well, just in case it's tied to what they did, because I had no idea what they did, I figured I'd take it down there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I dropped it off, and at first I called them like last Tuesday.
Yeah.
And left them a message, and they never called me back. So I called again. And I was like, why didn't you guys call me back? Like, I don't know. Like, well, can you get me in tomorrow? I was like, why do you even have a voicemail then?
Right, yeah.
Like, seriously.
Oh, no, they listen. They just listen and laugh while they're,
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So, and I'm like, Friday's my day off. I'm coming down from Sun Valley. I really want to have you guys look at this and see what's going on. And so they got me in, which was great. And they fixed a tire, and they told me that it's the water pump, which on our car is $1,000.
Nice.
And I'm like, that's not even a $200 part guarantee.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, I'm looking some stuff up, and I'm finding out that these cars are leaking. There's been 29 fires because there's the fluid's gotten low, cracked, oil out, car lights on, motor lights on fire.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and there's like these, and there's lots of leaks where there's like these micro leaks into the engine blocks, and people don't even you can't see it. There's no leak, you don't know what's going on,
right? And
all of a sudden it gets too low, block crack. So what the recall was is they put a sensor in. There wasn't a coolant level sensor because cars don't leak fluid anymore. Coolant. They basically don't.
Right.
If it does, there's a problem, right? Because they're completely sealed now.
Yeah.
And so they never had that type of that level of a sensor, I guess. So what they did with all these cars is they just made them real sensitive. They did software and hardware upgrades.
Okay.
And that's why all of a sudden we got a message saying that we had low coolant.
Oh, okay.
Because we didn't have a sensor before.
Right.
They put one in.
Huh.
And then finally afterwards I got it. And then Ford at some point said that they were going to repair any leaks, but they were talking like minor ones.
Yeah.
Like if it was the reservoir or a hose or something small like that.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, why is this thing $1,000? Go on to YouTube. You have to pull the motor out.
That explains why it's $1,000 then.
Yeah. So you have to take everything off on the left and right of the motor so you can get to the motor mounts, pop the motor mounts, and then lift it about 6 inches maybe.
Oh, geez. Wow. You don't know anybody with a motor lift, do you?
Well, that's why I was like, I should be able to do this. I mean, it's a water pump. It's an external feature.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you how many times I've known my dad or brothers to have fixed water pumps for themselves or other people over the years.
Yeah, I've replaced so many of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's a ton of stuff that you have to get out of the way.
Yeah.
And then, lift the motor. So, yeah.
As much as you hate to spend $1,000, that seems like one of those headaches you'd rather just let someone else have.
Yeah, just because it's more because of what gets taken out.
Yeah.
And has to go back in. Yeah. So that was Friday. And then I had a gig last night, which was great. We played at a new bar and the sound was amazing, but I was there till like 12:30. And then when I got home, it's like, I'm amped.
Yeah.
And then got up and went to work today. And I woke up and I just, this congestion just got even worse today. It's like I took a step back or something. I was finally starting to feel better. And then all of a sudden I'm like, Jesus.
Wow.
Like now it's like in my chest, like I'm like coughing. I was like, okay, great, cool. Awesome.
Yeah. That's good stuff.
Yeah. But anyhow, that pales in comparison to what's going on with you. How are you?
I'm actually, I'm good now. For anyone who doesn't know, because I didn't really post it anywhere. I just kind of told people that, I wanted to tell. My brother Jimmy had I'm not 100% sure if he had a heart attack, but he got up and he was feeling funny and was having, some shoulder pain and tingling in his left hand. And he went to one hospital. They were like, they're like heart specialists because it's a weekend. It was Saturday. Or Friday, I mean, sorry. Saturday. It was yesterday. Yeah. Their heart specialist already was like up to his neck in like open hearts for the day. So he had zero free time. So they were like, hey, you should go to, like they made sure he was okay essentially for the moment, and then we're like, hey, you should head over to another hospital. So he went to another hospital and, the cardiologist, ran some stuff and they were like, yeah, you need a triple bypass now. Wow. Yeah. And it turns out that like he actually needed a quad. But two of like, you have five, major like artery things or whatever. Two of his are 100% blocked. And once they hit that point, they can't do anything because it's calcified. Wow. And they can't risk opening those up because if so, that calcium could get out and essentially cause even more damage. So he's already at that point, then he needs a triple bypass, which he came through. The doctor, was happy with the surgery and everything, but they were still like, he needs to make some major changes in his life because I guess his blood pressure had been all over the place and he had high cholesterol, obviously. And he had, there was something else. Oh, he said that the other arteries and veins and stuff that were around the heart are not in great shape. Like he said they looked pretty rough. And he said, he's like, he can still live a fine life, but he needs to make changes, So he's got to cut out a lot of things that he loves in life. Like, he loves ham. He likes having a beer. He drinks Mountain Dew like it's water. So, all those things right out, basically. He doesn't smoke anymore, so that's good, but, the part that's going to kill him, honestly, the most is that he has a motorcycle and he loves riding it through the summer. And they told him it'll probably be 3 to 6 months before he can again, which pretty much takes you all the way through summer.
Yeah.
So, but whatever. I mean, he'd rather be alive than, anything. And, but I guess last night, they didn't take out, they normally take out the, what is it called? I can't think what the thing's called now. Like the angioplasty kind of balloon thing. Mm-hmm. Like they usually take that out. After the surgery, they left it in because they were still afraid that things were still a little touch and go with him. And I guess overnight they had a real hard time getting his blood pressure under control and they were pretty worried, I guess. So, But today, breathing tube's out, that tube's out. He's alert. He's conscious. Obviously, he's in good spirits and everything. And they seem to think the worst is behind him. But yeah, the biggest thing is he's got to reduce stress in his life. Which is always tough because there's a reason it's stress, whether it's that you hold on to it or it's that other people keep bringing it to you or both. And, it's going to be a tough adjustment, but he's, him and his wife are going to have to basically, tell anyone who brings drama to him, be like, hey, I can't handle this. This has got to go. So,
yeah.
But yeah, anyway, thankful that he's all right at this point. I was worried yesterday, and it's funny because my dad had had a quadruple bypass when I was 16. Yeah, 16. And then just a few months ago, for anyone who listens knows, Jim, the guy that my mom's dating, who is not the same person. This is a totally different. Which is why I referred to him as Jimmy to everyone, because first of all, I call him Jimmy anyway, but I wanted to make sure people understood I was not saying Jim had another heart attack or something. But we just went through that, and I wasn't worried with either of those. But for some reason, I was with this one. It really, I didn't sleep well last night or anything. And my mom told me today that they took those tubes out and everything. I was like, okay, now I feel a lot better.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that was a fun day. Like I was sleeping, and next thing you know, I hear a knock on my door, and I'm like, and then I hear my nephew's voice. And I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
And he goes, hey, he's like, sorry to wake you up like this. He's like, but, well, to him, it's his uncle. He says, Uncle Jim had a heart attack. And I'm like, what, huh? All of a sudden you're 100% awake, and
yeah.
So, yeah, he's like, sorry. I was like, no, don't be sorry. That's, I'm glad you told me, but it was certainly a wake up, So, yeah, it's.
Wow.
Yeah, and it really stinks for his daughters because they just lost their mom to cancer a few months ago. So they were, outside their mind that they may lose their dad too, So that's, that's got to suck. Plus, it's for everybody, it's a stressor. My mom sitting there, worried that she might lose another of her kids. It's yeah. So she's better now because she feels, that he's a little more himself now. I mean, there's still, obviously, there's a huge, all the work is ahead of him still. I mean, the hard part is not over. The hard part's in front of him.
Yeah.
Because even, getting up and walking to the bathroom will tire him out at first. So, but yeah, lucky that he listened to his body this time, and I know this isn't the crazy life, even though it feels like it. So if you're checking your podcast settings, this is salty language. But I just want to stress, and I don't want to even say especially with guys, but anybody, if your body's telling you you're having symptoms of a heart attack, just go get checked out. I know it sucks. It can cost money, blah, blah, but it's, he was going to go to his granddaughter's soccer game, and then he was going to go to work, and his work that night, he does maintenance work on machines in an ice cream factory, and he had a huge machine he was going to work on, which would have been a lot of lifting, pulling, twisting. So who knows, could have been the end of him. So, he lucked out that not only that he listened, but also that his wife, because he was like, oh, I'll be fine. But, and she was like, get in the damn car, so good on her and good on everything. Like I said, if Jim was the same way. He's not a go to the doctor kind of guy. And just the one day he was like, he's like, I get these pains occasionally, but they go away. He's like, this one didn't. So he was like, hey, I need to go in. So, like I said, please listen to your body if it's telling you this stuff, because, a lot of these, if you don't get in, like my brother was more of a risk than Jim, that if he wouldn't have gotten in, who knows? Because again, even without the surgery, he's 40% down walking in the door, and then whatever damage was done to his heart and the arteries and all, so his heart is already taking a beating basically, So, yeah. So, all right. So there we go. Enough of that.
That's exciting weekend. Oof.
Yeah, I was gonna say not much else happened this weekend, but I don't really think much else needs to happen this weekend.
Yeah, at this point, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I went out on Thursday with Jeannie and one of her coworkers showed up. You know, we just went and had a couple pints, and that was cool and all. You know, so yeah, it was aside from the heart attack and surgery part. You know, I mean, the fact that he's on the mend is good. You know, and that's just the way I'm going to keep looking at it. It's just focus on the positive stuff. You know, he's around. That's all that matters.
Yep.
So, and the hard part is you always wonder, you know, when the doctors are like, hey, you've got to quit this, you know, it's like, will people listen? You know, because it's hard, you know, especially when the doctor tells you, hey, you can't have one of your favorite foods. You can't have, you know, your favorite drink, whether it's alcoholic or non-alcoholic. He can't have either anymore, or at least for a while. You know, he may be down the road or something, but, you know, it's like when they're telling you, you can't ride your bike. You know, it's like you can't do anything you think is fun, basically, or enjoyable. You know, that's a kick in the butt.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But again, when you weigh it against the, wow, I can't think of the word now. Wow, I just totally blanked. I was trying to think of when you weigh it against the other side, the other option, whatever the hell word I can't think of. You know, you definitely, you'll be like, well, it sucks, but you gotta, you know, it's like after my dad had his surgery, you know, he came home and basically all the sweets were out of the house. There was no more pop in the house. There was, you know, and we're eating chicken breast and vegetables a bunch and all this kind of stuff. I mean, we still ate other stuff, but it was in much smaller quantities and, you know, and it was for the best. I mean, it was, you know, no, they weren't bad things, but I'll tell you the other side of this is that this has really, really made me kind of look at myself because, you know, Jim having a heart attack, Jimmy having a heart attack, and it's like, what were their root causes? Now, granted, I don't think Jim smoked, but Jimmy smoked, so that certainly didn't help his cause, you know, and he's a keep everything in. I mean, we're cut from the same cloth, you know, so he was a keep everything in kind of guy and not going to the doctor, which those two things I've made changes in my life already. You know, I don't keep everything bottled up as much and I go to the doctor. If I don't feel right, I go get it looked at. So at least I'm ahead of the game there. But I also was like, I need to start making some other changes because, you know, I'm over 40 and this is where stuff just starts, you know, getting harder. If something goes wrong, it gets harder to, you know, so. Yeah. So anyway, there we go. That was my weekend. So we went out to eat tonight and we ended up over at Chili's. And, you know, for anyone who's a long time listener of the show, you may remember the joke that Tony, me, and Tate made about the party at the Bees because of a woman that I sat next to at Applebee's who said she was going to go to Applebee's for their margaritas and party at the Bees. Woo!
Bees, yeah.
Well, we were at Chili's tonight and we're recording on Cinco de Mayo, or since I see so many white people celebrating, I still prefer Cinco de Mayo for that because white.
Absolutely.
But we ended up at Chili's and they had in their bar area, they had a live DJ for some reason. And and the sad part was there really wasn't anyone, like they weren't busy. There was probably 6 tables with people. And they've got a DJ in the bar. You know,
wow.
Yeah. So the weirder part is, you know, so the first thing I thought of obviously was the, you know, party at the Bees thing. That Chili's is trying to, you know, cut in on that territory. Party at the Lees. But the weird part was that, all right, so since there's not a lot of people in there, the sound in the place travels really well, you know, because you don't have any other noise it's fighting with. Well, the music was super loud. And in my head, I'm going, why don't you turn the music down just a little bit? It'd still be plenty loud, and then people could actually hear themselves talking to others. Because I saw almost every table, people were leaning over trying to talk to each other and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Know? And it's like, I think you kind of just got to know your room a little bit. It's like, if it starts filling up, take it back up. But when there's like nobody in there, you don't need to run it at full volume.
Oh, yeah.
Because like I said, the sound was traveling perfectly fine,
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of annoying, actually. After a little bit, it kind of got annoying more than anything.
Oh, yeah.
But luckily, he was only there till, like 9 or something like that. So at that point,
that's good.
It was done.
Yeah, that's my big concern when we get in, we're setting up is I'd rather have, when things get busy, the manager come over and say, hey, can you guys turn up a little bit?
Yeah.
I'd way rather hear that than you guys are too loud.
Yeah, because there's a lot of bars we go to that when we get in there, and it's like, we'd like to stay because they got live music and we like it, but it's like it's too loud. Like, It's like, and don't get me wrong, I want the music to be able to play at an acceptable volume. I don't want them to where you can't hear anybody. I want to hear the music, but it's like a lot of times when you're at public places, you're also there because you want to talk with people, and you kind of can't. Yeah. So, and and when it's live music, it's also a little different to me because usually I'll pay more attention to the live music. When it's being played from a DJ, though, it's like I'm not really being rude to anybody if I'm not paying attention to it.
Yeah.
With live music, it's a little different because I kind of feel rude because, like, they're up there trying to perform and, it's your yak. But, yeah. I just figure it's because I'm getting older. That's all it is. I'm just like, turn your damn music down,
You old curmudgeon.
Yeah. So I'm sipping my tea, Drinking my Sanka.
Yeah. Lord, when you said that about whether your brother be able to make the changes and stuff like that, I tend to sometimes we have a Wednesday, like a local paper that comes out on Wednesdays, like that's the big one, and there's a little one on Fridays.
Yeah.
And since I didn't go out for breakfast or anything on Friday like I usually do, I didn't grab the paper, so I'll typically just grab it when I get to work on Sunday. And so I just pop it open and, at lunchtime, and I'm reading through, and there's a picture of somebody that I know that should be sober, 3rd DUI.
Oh,
that's a felony.
Oh,
and I'm
boy.
like, oh, dude. Yeah. And it just kills me. I was just like, oh, man.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy, it's not like the guy doesn't put in the effort. He tries to hang out with sober people.
Right.
Like, it's not like he's out there like, screw it,
Right. Yeah, he just finally got caught, basically. Yeah, it was these trials.
And because he'll come, I'll see him and he'll look rough, but he's trying to do it, right? He's trying to, he's trying to stay sober. But the guy, it's been a long time. Like, it's been a long time of struggling. And I was like, wow,
yeah.
And it shouldn't shock me, and for the most part it doesn't, but it does. Yeah. I'm just like, mostly it just kills me because I'm just like, man, like the third one, you knew that's the big one, baby. You're going to jail.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the first one you're like, the second one you're like, dude, come on now. But yeah, that third one you're like, oh man, that's the point where once you hit number 2, you got to be like, look, I can't get another one of these,
Yeah.
Yeah. It's too bad.
Yeah. It really was. I just was like, oh.
Yeah.
Like, brutal.
Yeah. It's tough though, but it also speaks to the nature of the fight,
It is. That's it. And that's it. It literally, and all I can do is say, I don't know why I've been able to not take a drink in 12 years.
Right.
Thank you.
Right.
Whatever's kept me from it.
It's similar like when we talk on the Crazy Life about depression, about the whole, you have to get up and fight every day to win, essentially. But depression only has to win one time. And that one time could be the time you kill yourself or harm someone else or yourself or what, and like with this, it's the same thing, it's like every day you get up, it's a new fight. It's not, like you said, it's not, I have 12 years, so I'm good. Like it'll just never happen. It's like, no, at any time it's still, there's still that chance it could happen, whether or not even though you've decrease the chances
the
significantly.
likelihood.
You know, it still lingers out there. You know, and you know that, and anyone with long sobriety, I'm sure, you know, you're very aware of that kind of thing. So it's sad though.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Yeah, but on the other side, it's like, well, I mean, I'm glad they get some jail time rather than being allowed back out to potentially do it again. I mean, man, my brother-in-law's brother, who's you know since died, but he was super alcoholic. I mean, he had so many DUIs, and every time we're just like, how do they keep letting you have another one? Like, how do they let you keep getting out? You know, at some point, it seems like you need to go away for a while to, you know, something. I don't know, but. And then he switched to riding a bike, which isn't necessary. You know, you think, oh, that's safer, except it isn't, because now you have a drunk person on a bike, which means he could cause an accident, just not as the driver per se. You know, he could just ride out in front of somebody and get hit or whatever. So it's, that's a tough scenario. That's too bad though. I never root for or, you know, wish for anyone to have to go through that, but. You know, never know. Maybe this will be the rock bottom. I don't know.
That's all I can say is I hope it is. Yeah, I really hope it is because, he has a family.
Yeah, that's always the harder part. Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of like I've you know we've chatted before, and a lot of it is that stress, that family stress. You know, it's like he's the co-parenting situation is not good, and sometimes it gets to be too much. But it's like I hope now it's like you realize that it doesn't matter how much it gets.
Yeah,
that ain't an option anymore,
right?
Because you suck.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah,
because that's seriously that's where like there was I went and hung out at this. We have a local brewery, and I went on Thursday night to meet this musician that we're going to be doing a gig with. And while I was there was this kid that I mentored, you know, and I call him a kid just because he's literally 20 plus years younger than I am.
Oh, look, I call people the same age as me kids. Yeah. So yeah.
But you know, he's when I was working with him, he had a suspended sentence for armed robbery.
Oh my.
And part of his suspended sentence was you're not to drink, do drugs.
That's
anything.
Usually part of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether it's probation or suspended. Yeah.
Yeah. You get the full sentence. Right.
Yep.
Like he was young and dumb and high. And he does not have a malicious bone in his body.
Right.
He was just stupid.
Yeah. Well, that's generally what it is, you know. And so many people, that's what it ends up being.
Right. And the whole town came to his, you know, wrote letters, everything. I mean, the amount of community support, because he's really a good, you know, he's a good dude. Yeah. Like even today, he's a good dude. Mm-hmm. And so when I was working with him and he had relapsed and we were having a conversation, I was like, you know, to me, how I view this is the state of Idaho, we the people, through a judge said, yeah, you should go to jail, but we're going to give you a second chance. Yeah. And what you're doing is you're lifting up your middle finger to all of us.
Totally. Yeah.
Because you can't not take a drink. You should have gone to jail.
Yeah.
But everybody, your friends, your family, everyone came in support of you, and you're basically telling them all, thanks, but screw you.
Right.
I'd rather drink.
And you're also, by doing that, you're essentially telling, you're essentially discrediting all those people too. You know,
really, yeah.
Because they're like, no, really, he'll behave. He's a good dude, blah blah blah, and you're just like, fuck you, you know. And then, you know, it's like, oh well, I guess he doesn't, and enjoy jail, yeah.
And so, you know, that was kind of that was my like kind of tough love attitude about the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, and he got through probation, everything's fine. So I see him on Thursday night, and he's hammered, and not obnoxiously. He's at least he's a fun drunk, you know. Okay. He's good natured, but it was that constant like tap me on the arm, to tell me a story, right? And the story ended up being goddamn funny. I mean, it was a good story, but after a while, I'm like, dude, if you touch me one more time.
Yeah. There was a guy, Tony and I were at a bar. We were watching UFC fights one night, and the guy to my right was just off his ass drunk, But again, like you just said, life of the party, funny dude, so you don't mind. But he kept doing the same thing. Like when there was a big knockout, he grabbed my shoulders and was like, oh, and I'm like, I'm not a person who generally likes being touched. So
especially by randos.
Yeah, but at the same time, I was like, you know what? He's not harming it. We're just having fun here. It's no big deal. But he kept doing that too. He keep like grabbing my arm or hitting my arm or whatever. Like, oh, like. And at one point I looked at him and he's like, I'm sorry, man. I'm not, he's like, I know I keep hitting your arm. He's like, I'm so sorry. And I was like, it's cool, dude. It's, but maybe stop.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I don't have a problem being around. Like, I don't care what people do with their lives.
Yeah.
If you think that you've got a problem and you need to stay sober, great. I'll help you with that.
Yeah.
If you don't think you have a problem and you want just to go back to a normal life, great. I'm not going to be around you if you're obnoxious.
Yeah, that's the
but
line.
Still,
yeah.
I don't care. I really don't. And that was my big issue is he wasn't even 21 yet. Back then he was like 20 and he's like, what? And I sat there, I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, man, because when I was your age, I was out getting hammered.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Like, that's what you do when you're 20.
Yeah.
Yep. Like the fact that you have to stay sober for 6-something years, good luck.
Especially like you said, at that age, because I mean, if nothing else, you're going to look at, the pressure of drinking is going to be much higher than
totally like all of his friends and everything. And that's why I was like, you might need to go to, because unfortunately we're a small community. There aren't exactly a lot of young sober people. Like, you might want to go to a larger city and hang out with some people and find out how they've gone through all that peer pressure and stuff. Because I mean, I drank.
Yeah.
I was like,
right. Yeah. My frame of reference would be the same too. It'd be like, I drank quite a bit when I was in my 20s. So
yeah.
I can't help you there either, but I mean, I didn't I didn't go to jail or anything like that, but I certainly drank more than my fair share of alcohol. So yeah.
And that's where I was getting with this. So it was him and a couple of his other friends are both like, they'd had DUIs and arrests and blah, blah, blah. And they all involved drugs or alcohol or something. And I was like, what the bottom line is? You guys really fucking suck at drinking. I mean, you shouldn't drink because you're idiots.
You can't handle your high.
You suck.
Mm-hmm.
You can't do it.
Yeah.
Like you have a proven track record of just like shit follows you when you pick up a drink.
Right. And
why
that's the thing.
Wouldn't you even bother?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, well, let's see. When did you get in trouble? What were the circumstances?
Yes.
And you put them all on paper and you're like, okay, let's find the common denominator here.
Yeah. Maybe when you get a little better at it, then we'll let you do it again. In the meantime,
maybe you should have
it.
maybe, or if nothing else, you have a 2 and done rule or something. I don't know.
So bad. I'm like, you guys are, and then he looked all offended at me. I'm like, well, am I lying?
Yeah.
I mean, you have this sentence thing. Your best buddy's got 2 DUIs and he's not even 21 yet. Yeah. I mean, I'm like, come on.
Yeah. You're
not to mention minor in possessions and blah, blah, blah. I'm like,
right.
You guys are terrible.
Yeah. You're off to a bad start for sure. Yeah.
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 Like I got away with a lot of stuff. I never got caught.
Yeah.
I was good at it.
Yeah. Which really and truly is not something to brag about either,
no,
but
it's not,
yeah,
but...
I know what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, cuz like I said, I got more than hammered plenty of times and never ended up, and I was out in public a lot and really drunk and never got a drunken disorderly or a public intoxication or nuisance or any of that stuff. Yeah. Now, granted, part of it's because of the people around me. The group of people I've always hung out with, the 3 different groups I've really hung out with there's always been one that's the, babysitter, we'll just call it, cause that's the best way I can put it. There's always somebody who is like, okay, things are getting out of hand. I'm gonna stop drinking to make sure that everything stays cool or whatever, And since I don't drive, there was zero chance of a DUI for me, so at least there was that. But I did get into the vehicle with people who should not have been driving. I am not happy or proud about that, but exactly.
Wow.
Yeah. Damn.
It's a little late for that reaction.
It's a pretty strong opinion.
It was.
Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yes, that was that.
Yeah. So, boy, we start off pretty heavy here, haven't we?
Yeah. Oh, I got a here. I got a sound effect for what sums this up.
Ah, horse shit.
Yeah.
So, you know how like I have a tendency to keep a few too many tabs open in the old browser?
Yeah, I do as well.
Yeah. And every once in a while I'll get onto my, and now this is my new iMac that I have.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, it's been okay. I just, I realize that sometimes if we're going to, for Skyping and doing the podcast stuff, I'll just, shut some of the RAM off. I'll leave all the tabs in there, but I'll just go in and I'll end the processes to free up some space.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Just in case.
Mm-hmm.
But so far it hasn't really been too much of a problem, but every once in a while, something will just suddenly start sucking up a ton of, like Safari will do, I don't know what it's doing. All of a sudden I'm like, what's going on with the computer? And I'm like, oh, it's using, like literally 20 gigabytes of RAM that I don't have.
Wow.
I've got 8, right? And I'm like, oh, shut that off. And I have no idea what it is. Just everything's peaked. It's using the hard drive, the swap file thing, whatever that is. But so I was like, all right, I need to get some RAM. And I've been looking before and it's still kind of expensive. It's never been really, I'm like, I don't want to spend more than $50, and it's always been between $75 and $100. But so finally there's some used stuff, the iMacs use laptop RAM. So,
okay.
Enough laptops go down,
True.
throw, people part them out. So I got some $48. Cool.
Well, that's not bad.
Yeah, it was fine. It's, throw another 8 in. And, that'll take care of everything. So I grab my iMac, I flip it upside down. I go, where's the little door for the RAM?
There isn't one.
No, there isn't.
There isn't.
So I look it up. After 2015 on the 21-inch iMacs, they stopped putting in the little door for the RAM.
Yeah.
And the worst thing is for 2015 and 2016, even if you did open up the case, the RAM was soldered in place.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. At least the one that I have, you can remove them.
Okay. So you're still good then. Okay.
Yeah. It's got the old school little caddy. Here's the problem. You got to take the screen off.
Yep.
And you literally need to take everything out of it.
Oh my goodness.
Everything. 'Cause it's in the back where the little doorway was. All they did is just didn't put a door there. It's literally where it's supposed to be.
So I get it if they took the door off when they started soldering the RAM, right? Because
you shouldn't need to get in there.
Exactly. Yeah. But when you still are able to swap out the RAM, even if it wasn't for the home user, even if it was for the repair techs everywhere else, you'd think they would have left it in there.
Yeah, I seriously wanted to grab a Dremel and just carve my own little door in the back because I know roughly where it is.
Yeah, you probably could. Yeah,
I couldn't believe it. I was like,
well, that's the move. Is if you're going to take if you go through the front and you take everything out, is you go ahead and do the Dremel thing. That way, nothing's really going to get damaged, and then you put everything back in. But then you won't need it. So,
yeah, I just was like, I was literally. Horse shit! Because it was.
Oh, yeah, it's one of those things that I mean, first of all, I always hated about the all-in-ones, whether it's a laptop or when they used to have the big, with the CRT monitors that weighed 100 pounds, where it had, the hard drive and everything built into one, or then when Mac started doing it as their, standard desktop, It's I hate that about them is that there's so many things you can't customize anymore. And I get it. We're in a throwaway world. Now you're supposed to go, oh, this doesn't do what I want it to do. Pitch it and buy a new one. But that is not, feasible for most people. And like you said, it's having that extra memory would be really nice,
Yeah. And it's just bullshit because every iMac, the earliest ones, with the smaller size, the screen was held on with magnets.
Yeah.
So you literally pop the thing off, you get to the screws, you unscrew everything. Okay, well now everything's glued.
Yep.
And then yes, I mean, I took my 27-inch apart that way. I got the replacement glue. I did everything. I put a solid straight drive. It was a pain in the fucking ass.
Not to mention, you don't want to do that over and over and over to it.
Because eventually you're going to screw something up, right?
Yeah.
But the thing about it is like when you've had something and every single one has been a certain way, I'm just like, oh, you people fucking piss me off.
Right, because I'm sure otherwise when you put in the solid state drive that you would have probably gone ahead and bought memory then and done it all while you had it open rather than waiting.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and so what I ended up in, because of financial stuff, it's like, okay, I have 2 computers right now.
Yeah.
One's for the studio, one's just my personal thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, all right, I can sell both of these right now, and it's not going to pay 100% for a new one.
Yeah.
But it's going to get me really close. And if I'm in the world of, let's consolidate, let's make things simpler. Because one of the issues with where I sit right now is I'm right next to the kitchen.
Yeah.
And Sharon walks in and just grabs a bag of chips.
Yeah.
Does not even fucking care.
Nope.
And I'm like, I will just look over and just shoot daggers at her, and then she'll feel terrible.
Yeah. The best one was still when we were about to record The Crazy Life, when we were doing the background noise record, and she's just banging stuff all around. That was the best. I mean, she didn't know we were doing it. I don't want to,
No,
but
it's
it was
not,
still, she didn't do it on purpose or anything. It was just funny. The timing was magnificent. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's just where I'm like, maybe even just try to be a little quiet, just remotely. So at least what I'm going to do is where I sit right now. I'm gonna go back to my studio desk. I'm going to get a new computer, and then what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to get a smaller, just a cheap monitor on the side.
Yeah.
Because one of the things that my studio computer I need to have on the other side of my speakers so it doesn't interfere with the sound. Right?
Oh, okay, sure.
So it's too far away for me to see reading emails and stuff and being old and shit. Just so I really need something up close. So I was looking up and they make these just nice little tiny. I mean, it can be the size of a laptop screen for all I care. Just a little external display that I can in the morning just do my emails and my BS and look at the bank accounts and stuff like that.
Yeah, it would be essentially like you're saying. It'd be like looking at a laptop. It'd be no different than that.
Exactly. Yeah, and have something up close and so that's I'm gonna these are what I did is I ordered I just went ahead and ordered a new computer, and then when that comes in I have to do I'm going to do all the transfers and consolidate, and then I'm going to get rid of this. I have a really cool where my computer it's like a when they do like a shelving unit and they give you a shelf specifically for like a computer desk setup.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to turn this into something else because usually my air conditioner goes here, and it's like I know it's going to make Sharon happier if I just get rid of some of the crap.
That's fair. Everybody wins then. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then if I'm in my room, what I'm going to do is I just need to put in a curtain system so I can because right now it's just open into this area. Mm-hmm. And so that way, at least, if she's in the kitchen, she can, make dinner. Cause I come home from work and I make dinner.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I eat and, and then I goof off and I'm ready for the podcast, and she comes home and I don't know what she does. Sits there and waits till Henno's podcasting and then says, now I'm going to make dinner.
What's the loudest thing I can have? No, I'm kidding.
It's so weird. I'm like, I told you I've got a podcast tonight, and well, I wasn't hungry then.
Yeah. So next time you're just like, okay, here, I made you dinner. You just take it in there.
Seriously.
You have to eat it cold.
Well, that's how it usually goes anyway, this is the other one that's bizarre. It's like, I will cook and no one can cook just for themselves.
Yeah,
I mean,
it is
yes, you
difficult to
can.
do. Yeah.
But when you're actually preparing something, most of the time there's always enough extra for somebody else.
Right.
So I will set out a couple plates and I'll say, hey, I made this, blah, blah, blah. There's some food in there. And I will sit down and I'll eat my meal and go in and start doing the dishes and putting stuff away. And like an hour later, she comes walking in the kitchen to get some. And I'm just like,
all right. Yeah.
And then out comes the ketchup and shit. And I'm like, hey, I'm like, okay, everyone's got just different ways of doing shit.
Right. Yep.
It just makes me laugh. And I'm like, I seasoned that. It's perfect. Just like it is. Yep. You don't need, where's the steak sauce? No.
In the trash where it belongs. Yeah. I will say this though. I bought some really thinly sliced steak the other day at the store, and when I cooked it, I don't know what I was thinking, but I put it in a cast iron to cook it because I was gonna cook the meat, take the meat out, then cook some green peppers, onions, mushrooms, in the what was left from the meat, so it gives it a nice kind of steaky flavor, I was going to, get a good cook on those, and then I was going to have basically like cheesesteaks kind of a concept. And I overcooked the meat, which always sucks because it's so thin. And I'm not thinking cast iron gets super hot, super fast, so whatever. And I'm eating it, and I'm like, man, I really wish right now I had some steak sauce because it needs something because it's so dry. So, yeah. I mean, I ended up using barbecue sauce because that's all I had, but it was,
I did the same thing the other day. It was a thinner piece of meat than I usually get. And I just was kind of on autopilot and grilled it for the usual. And by the time we got into it, I'm just like, and when Sharon came home, I'm like, grab steak sauce. I was like, and then it was funny is I couldn't find any. It had fallen, cause I always have some A1. You know what I really dig? This is if you've seen it, it's worth trying. Heinz makes it's a Heinz 57 product, and it's specifically kind of for pork.
Okay.
And it's like
I think I know what you're talking about.
It's kind of an orangish color.
Yeah.
It's actually really good. Like I really like it. It's decent on chicken. I mean, there's other things I'd rather have with chicken, but it's great with pork, and it's okay with the steak too, depending on,
Yeah. Well, in that scenario, you're just looking for something to rescue it. I mean,
just anything. Because you're just sitting there just like,
yeah, this is so dry.
Dry.
And I'm just crying into it because I ruined the steak. It's like perfectly good meat, and I just ruined it.
I hate that.
Yeah.
Especially when you know what I used to suck at grilling, but I've got my shit down finally. So when I do one like that, I'm so mad.
Yeah.
So I've got it now.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you blew it.
The vegetables were amazing because they had that nice steaky taste and the cast iron, and a little salt and pepper on them. They were great, and unfortunately there wasn't enough moisture from those to save the meat. Because originally I had even thought about just doing a quick stir fry, or some broccoli beef basically kind of a thing. And even afterwards, I kind of thought of it because I was like, well, I do have soy sauce. I could probably look online and whip up some sort of sauce, that'll be similar to a steak sauce. But I was like, I just didn't. I saw the barbecue sauce and was like, this will work. So, or no, I didn't use barbecue sauce. What I used, I had packets of Arby's has a 3-pepper sauce. That's got a little kick to it. That's what I used. I knew there was something. It was something else. So I used some of that, and it helped, but I needed about 3 packets probably to save it, and I only had 1, so that wasn't enough. But it certainly helped. But, I even had, I had onion rolls for it, because I thought that'd go real well, and it was, and they were nice and soft. I put a little toast on them, had everything else perfect, and just destroyed the meat.
Ugh.
I would have much rather charred the bread,
yes,
oopsie,
exactly.
Because at least I could scrape a little of that off, or, no. Oh, well,
Yeah.
So speaking of, computer-y stuff, even though this isn't really computer, so my phone's been dropping calls a lot.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You had that weird issue going on.
Yeah, almost every call I get, it drops. And it's super annoying. With most people, it's just annoying. Like my brother, he does prepaid minutes. So every time it drops a call for him, it's literally wasting money for him, you know? So, and he calls me a decent amount, you know? So, and I looked online, I tried everything they said online, you know, reset the factory stuff or the network settings. Forgot what else. There was like 4 things to do. One of them was to, you know, back up your phone like to the cloud or whatever and then restore it. I did that, still kept doing it. So I got a hold of Verizon the other day. This is the first time I did. They told me to that was before I had done the restore, and they were like, well, try that because a lot of times that'll fix the problem. Okay, you know. Well, it didn't, and unless maybe it's user error and I'm, you know, I didn't do something right, but I followed the instructions, so I'm pretty sure I did it right. So I'm talking with the woman at Verizon the other day, and she goes, okay, so you've tried this. You know how they, you know, you got to go through, you know, have you tried turning it off, turning it back on again? And so by the time we get done with that, she goes, okay, she goes, I really don't know what else to tell you. She's like, at this point, I pretty much can offer you 2 solutions, is deal with it or get a new phone.
Wow.
And I was like, really? And she goes, yeah. I was like, it's so annoying. You know, cause like every night that I talk with Roxana, which is every night, it drops the call at least one time. Usually it's more like 3 times.
Wow.
And then afterward, she can't call me and I can't call her. Or we can call, but it goes right to voicemail.
Okay.
So it's like, it's gotten to be, at first it was a little annoying. Now it's getting like super annoying, you know? So I was like, okay, I was like, since I have you on here, I was like, can you tell me, you know, give me the financials on a new phone just cause I'm curious.
Yeah.
And she's like, well, what one are you looking at? And I'm like, well, if I'm going to get a new phone, I'm like, I probably want the, you know, cause I still want an iPhone. It's like, I'll probably the XR because I've basically read that between the XR and the, what is the other one? The XS, I think it is. I think the XR is the better one, whatever. And I was, you know, and she's like, okay, you know, and it's like $35 a month. And I'm like, okay. And she goes, well, she's like, right now you have a thing, your account qualifies for like $300 off an iPhone X. Plus you get the protection plan free. I was like, wow, really? So I'm like, well, how much would that be a month? And she goes, she's like, $24. And I'm like, So I jump online real quick, did the comparison of the X to the XR. And basically what I read is that aside from processor speed, the screen's bigger. It has better cameras. All the stats are better on the X. So I was like, I just pulled the trigger on it. I was like, I should be able to do this. You know, I talked with my mom a little bit and I was like, I can do this because it's just so damn annoying to keep dropping calls, you know. I really thought that restoring it would fix it because usually whatever ails the phone like that, you know, if you do a restore, that'll usually fix it, but still did it. So I don't know, maybe there's something wrong with like an antenna in the phone or something like that, or it just doesn't hold a signal or something. I don't know. Because also, I've been walking around here, and at times my phone's showing no service. And this is no longer a dead zone, and I've never had an issue with Verizon in this area. So, I never had an issue until just a few months ago, and then it started just doing that. So, yeah, so looks like I'll have a new phone like Tuesday. So,
well, that's cool.
Yeah, and I'm glad they allow you to make payments on it, you know, because before when I tried to get a phone, it was back when like they still weren't doing payments basically, or if you could, the payments were like almost $50 a month, and it's like that's way too much. I can't, you know, with me not having a job, I cannot commit to $50. $25 I can come up with. I can sell enough on eBay each month probably to come up with that. So, if not, my mom said she'd help out. So it's, you know, so yeah, it's yeah.
I had like I owed like $100. I had basically had 3 payments left. My payments are like 30 or something. Mm-hmm. I just have I have a 7. I have an iPhone 7.
Yeah. And
so I will go look at the new phones.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, all right, now it's $35 or $40 or know, depending on what it is. And like I drop my phone a lot. Yeah. And the new ones have these glass backs and everything. And I'm just like, the 7, it's been good. It's been in the water. It's,
Yeah.
I cracked the screen only once and I got a replacement phone and that phone's been good. And I was just like, I got paid for a gig, $100, and I just sent it to Verizon. I paid the phone off, and now my bill, instead of being $100 a month, is $60 a month. And I cannot tell you the last time I had a cell phone bill that was around $60 a month.
Right.
It feels good, and I'm like, I seriously looking. I don't want to buy another phone.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that have gotten to the 8 and stopped because I think the 8 is the last one that has. Actually, I don't remember. Does the 8 have headphone jack or not?
No, the 7 doesn't either.
Okay. Oh, that's right. The 6 is the last one, or 6
6
whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Never mind then. But I know some people who. Oh no, it wasn't the headphone jack. It was the home button. That's what it was.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of people that got to whatever the model that had the home button.
Mine's the last one with the home button.
Okay,
7.
I thought it was. Okay. So, and they don't upgrade past that because they don't want to give that up. So, that's one of the things that's probably going to be a pain in the butt for me. I really like the thumbprint sensor thing.
I do too.
We'll see. The newer ones are all face recognition, and I don't know.
My iPad's like that, and I got used to it.
Yeah.
It took me a while. It was it's weird at first.
Yeah.
And you'll be a little like, because the one thing that's great about the button too is doing a screen cap.
Yeah.
Right. So now to do a screen cap, you have to push the volume up and the shutdown button, and they're right next to each other. And it's so easy to, versus it's so hard to two-hand it. It's a one-hand operation.
Okay.
And there's just like certain things like, it's just a different process. It's not bad, but it just takes some getting used to. Yeah. And then what's weird is when I go to my old iPad, I've purposed it it sits at the studio with the, my mixer, because it's a digital mixer, so you have to use a tablet for it. So I just leave it down there. And when I go there to use it, I'm like, oh yeah, it's got a home button.
I do that actually too, because I still have, what was it, the 5 that I had before this phone, and I'll still play games on it sometimes. Like while I'm talking on my phone, I'll still use the old one just to play games on.
So funny.
And it's the same thing because it does not have. Well, it's got the home button obviously, but it doesn't have the thumbprint sensor. So I'll tap it, or I'll just put my thumb on it and be like, "What? Oh yeah, this is the old one."
Yeah,
I have to still put a code in.
And the face recognition is actually pretty good. I'm amazed at how well it works, even like with really low light. If I have all the lights off, then usually I'll have to enter in the code anyway. But
yeah, that's what I would just do.
It's pretty cool. Yeah,
because a lot of times when I'm using, I'll be sitting in bed or whatever, I just have the lights off. I'll be watching TV or something. So if that's a problem, I'll just use the code. It's not that big a deal. I did that for a long time. Even once I got the one with the thumb sensor, I activated it right away, but I was still doing the other because I was so used to just entering the code,
Mm-hmm.
And then because at first it was like every time I'd go to touch it, it would unlock when I didn't want it to, because now it's, I'm so used to it that it's no big deal. I don't unlock it when I don't want to most of the time now,
Yeah.
So. Anyway, so yeah, we'll see how that goes. Hopefully that fixes it. I mean, otherwise, I don't know what the heck it could be. So,
yeah,
because when I get that, I'll switch the SIMs out and everything, so it'll be all set. But
I'll just tech corner on Salty Language this episode,
right? Woo!
But you're all real excited about that.
Yeah, especially because I'm sure there's plenty of people who be like, "This is why I don't use Mac products." So,
you know what? By the way, I finally got a response to that.
Okay,
like I have had no response to the reason why Apple products suck.
Yeah, the one I always get is it's like a cult. I'm like, yeah, but it's a cult of products that always seem to work for people. So what? That's not really a problem to me. If you want to fault the money, sure, I'm all for it on that. Like I love Mac products, but the money is ridiculous.
So the one thing that I did have at one point was, anything having to do with an Android device, you have to have another entity in the way, which is Google.
Right.
Right. You have one extra step that you have to do versus where the Apple products, you don't have that. It's part of it. Mm. But that still was kind of like, all the functions are still there. Blah,
yeah.
blah,
Right.
And the one thing that's always talked about with Apple, especially with computers, is security, right?
Yeah.
I haven't had an antivirus or any sort of a malware, any software on any of my Macs since 2007.
Yeah, I really hadn't either. And honestly, for a long time, especially back in the day, you didn't have to because there were so few Mac users that people that were doing hacking and stuff were like never really going after Mac users. You know?
No, they don't. And to this day they don't. What you do get is you get some browser hacks, right?
Yes.
But a browser's a browser, right?
Yep.
You know, that's no deal. Well, I finally heard the thing, and this is why Apple has better safety and security. They don't sell software. They're a hardware product manufacturer.
Yeah, they are.
What they sell is hardware.
Mm.
They do not sell. So that means they're not in the business of keeping information.
Yeah.
Google is in the business of your information.
I was going to say Google may be at the forefront of
exactly. Apple has no interest in any of that.
Yeah.
They do not sell software.
Yeah.
They package it as part of your operating system, but it is not something that they are selling to the general population.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So their business has nothing to do with our information.
Yeah.
And it's not shared with anybody. They're not selling it to anybody. And I was like, that's the difference right there.
Yeah.
Is that Google is in the business of selling what I do.
Totally. Yeah. And I mean, and we're not like, this isn't even knocking Google. They openly,
that's how it is.
That's what they're doing. Yeah. They tell
they're
you.
Scanning all of our emails. They're using it for advertising. They use it to focus out. Apple does none of that.
Yeah.
They're not selling advertising. They've thought about doing it.
Mm-hmm.
They've dipped their toe in it and they've said, nope, we're going to stick to what we do, which is we sell hardware products.
Yeah.
I mean, that has software, but they don't, and I was like, and when I finally heard that, I'm like, okay, that's my comeback finally.
Yeah.
That's what I'm spending the extra money on.
Yeah. Because that was one of the
privacy.
things I loved years ago when they switched their operating systems from being $100 or whatever for the upgrades to free. And once they did that, I was like, holy shit, like this is game changer, because, it made it really tough on Windows because did you notice like when Windows put out Windows 10, they offered a free upgrade for a short time and then you'd have to pay for it after that. Mac, you can still, if you get a Mac right now or even an old one, you can bring it all the way up as far as you can for free. Like it doesn't cost anything for the operating system.
They sell hardware. Yep. And the whole idea, the privacy part is huge.
Yeah.
They are not in the business of selling my information to anybody.
Right. Which it really is. I mean, I know they make up for it because they just flat out charge more, but it is interesting to see a company essentially leave a prime revenue stream lay on the table because data is where all the money is right now.
Exactly. That's it.
So it is interesting. But again, they charge more up front, so they don't have to worry about that other money they're losing because they're probably they are collecting, plenty, especially because most of the time they're not, especially now, they're not really upgrading a ton on a lot of the stuff. So, that really needs to change if you're going to keep charging that much more money though.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be, like I said, if it's the money thing, I totally understand it. I know for years and years, people on computer, like the, computer techs and stuff would always, like, Macs are crap and all this stuff. And it was like, which made sense because that was before they started working off of, what do you call it? It's not Linux, but it's like Linux or whatever that their operating system's built on now, so.
And it was the not having the Intel chips.
Yeah.
That's what.
And once they did all that stuff, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh, hey, their software is stable. There's, like
with a few exceptions, I had one computer that just had a bad video card, and they just had a bad bunch, and it just didn't rear its head.
Yeah, there's been moments like that. There was the one mouse that they put out. They had the Like, it was the first Magic Mouse, I think, that they did or whatever, that didn't have buttons on top of it, but it had the little scroll ball, but they didn't have any way to take it apart to clean the scroll ball. So after a while, it would quit scrolling up.
Oh, okay.
And, like, because I had Apple Care at the time, and I probably got 6 or 7 of those mice while it was under Apple Care. And then when it was that was done, I went out and bought a gaming mouse, and ever since then that's just what I use now. But I switched to that because I got tired of that, and it was just a horribly designed. Like, why wouldn't you put, much like you were talking earlier with the RAM, being able to access that through a little door instead of having to tear the whole thing apart? It's like, why wouldn't you put, like, every mouse ever especially before the newer ones, well, the newer ones are optical, but before the optical mice, whenever you had that kind of a thing, you always could access the little trackball or whatever to clean it, or to clean the sensors around it, or the holders around it, so that it wouldn't gum up, basically. So, I don't know why and every time I send it in, and I talk to them on the phone, and they're like, well, did you try blah, blah? I'm like, did you guys try, like, redesigning your product? Because this is garbage. I'm like,
what's amazing is the new one is, I'm like, so I've been pretty much, I have not used the Apple mice, mooses at all.
Right.
I use Logitech.
That's what I use too.
Balls, right?
Yeah.
Right. Thumb balls. That's been my thing. But they're not real. Their tracking can be off, especially the Bluetooth ones or the Wi-Fi ones.
Uh-huh.
And, so I've actually pulled out. I have got the new optical mouse, and it's fucking amazing. Like, it's really
good.
Really amazing.
I'm glad they straightened it out, because, like, when they got rid of the whole track thing where you could just use your finger to scroll or whatever, I was like, this is so much better.
Yeah.
Like, the ball was the fault of the thing, because if you're going to use the ball, that's fine, but you have to have a way to clean those things out around it. Otherwise, the ball rubs those and it gums it up over time. Because it collects stuff as it's rolling, and it's just, like, that's why I don't know how many times forever ago, like, I go over to my mom's, and, she'd be like, my mouse isn't working right. First thing I do, turn the thing upside down, pop the ball out, and go, well, here's the problem. Take a little thing in there and clean it off, and then put it back in and work like a champ.
Shit.
Yep. Now with the optical, you don't have to worry about that. But when Apple added that back in, I was like, this isn't a wheel. This is a ball. If you put a wheel in there, you're okay. Like, I've never had a problem with the wheel mice. Yeah. Like, they always seem to scroll forever. But the ball one is the problem, because, like I said, it gums up after a while. And it's like, didn't you learn anything?
No kidding.
Like, I don't know how that gets through testing. How somebody wasn't like, hey, guys, like, y'all remember the old, like, balls and mice? They used to gum up all the time. But anyway. All right, let's end Nerd Corner for now, I guess.
Well,
right?
yeah, totally.
Well, actually, I have more that it's within the realm of Apple, actually. Did you see Apple's talking about, well, they're going to do a thing called the Apple Card? And it's going to be... Oh,
yeah, I've heard about this for a while now.
Yeah, and it looks like it's getting closer to fruition, which basically it's just going to be essentially a credit card that's through Apple, but there's like no there's like no service charges on it. You get 2% cash back, and there was something else, but it's on your phone. Yeah. But the big key to it is, I was reading on Wired, and this makes so much sense, is the key to it for Apple is it keeps you using their apps, because everything you're going to use and look for couldn't tie through their apps, essentially, which keeps you on the phone longer, which is what, any app producer wants to do. They always want you, well, I mean, Apple makes the phone, but you know what I mean? Yeah. They want you on the phone all the time. And this was talking about how that's going to do this even more without people really thinking about it, because everything's going to be integrated through in the way that Mac is known for. To where when Mac makes something and they make all the pieces, they make it to where all the pieces fit together generally. Not always, but most of the time. That's kind of one of the things they're known for. Yeah. And that's what this will allow you to do, is you don't have to use PayPal or Cash App or whatever else. It's already in there. So any app you use, with your phone or whatever, this would kind of already be tied into it for directions or any other things that you need it for. So that was a really smart move by Apple. because people are going to embrace it, because anything that makes things easier for people tend to opt in on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I had 3 credit cards get compromised last month, and all of them were cards that I had either used with Apple Pay or with my iCloud.
Oh, really?
For paying for apps, like all 3 of them, that they were at some point, but I don't know which. The Apple Pay thing is really secure.
Yeah.
Like that one's super secure.
Yeah, I've been using it for a while. I only have 1 card on it, but I've been using it for a while and never had an issue. Knock on wood. But.
So I'm thinking it actually has to do with the iTunes, or it's the that's the iCloud is what you're using, that payment method.
Yeah,
I think it has to do with that, and it's from third parties somehow. I mean, it's the only thing I can. It was just weird. I'm like, okay, because what was strange was I had one that showed up that there was a fraudulent. Luckily I caught it like right away. I'm like, okay, what's this $1.65 thing? And by the afternoon I saw it was like somebody tried to put through like a $700 payment or something, so I called up right away, nipped that in the bud. And then literally an hour later, I got a call from another credit card company saying that, hey, we denied this. Do you know anything about it? And I'm like, definitely not. And now I'm like, okay, those 2 for sure I used with iTunes.
Yeah.
And so then I basically started paying attention to the 3rd card that I used, and sure enough, within like a day, how I could tell this was a trip. Somebody was trying to associate. They obviously didn't have enough information. They had enough information to try to associate it with an Apple Pay account, and then they try to Google Pay, and then they try to blah 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 Pay.
Okay, that makes sense,
because you don't need a card for that, right?
Yeah. Right.
So they were trying to link these. They were trying to link this card with various phone, things, some app. And as soon as I saw that, it pops up because it tells me in my email. Your card, someone tried, that you're now, or we refused your, blah, blah, blah card link with Google Pay. And I'm like, okay, this one's gone too.
Yeah.
And that was it. It was just those 3. And so I know, it was interesting.
That's good to know. I mean, I keep a really good tab on my stuff anyway. So it's, as far as like, I look at it fairly, daily, every other day, that kind of stuff. Plus, like you said, I've got notifications enabled. So if
that's it,
so things pop up, like if my card is used for something, I get an email like immediately and all that kind of stuff. PayPal's gotten obnoxious about it, but
and I don't mind, like Citi allows me to set the dollar amount.
Yeah.
And I'm good. I'll set it low because it doesn't bother me to see a little notice popping up saying that I just spent $25 at Amazon. I don't care. Yeah.
Well,
but at least this way I see like that $1.65 to Deutsche built fucking, something or other.
That's my business, actually. I've just been milking your card all this time for $1.65.
It was weird. Yeah.
I just do it every once in a while. Across the year, I'm getting, thousands off of you, but at one time, $1.65. You'll never miss it,
using that old German angle, huh?
Yeah. The old German Bleedout. That's what it is.
Oh man.
So that is good to know though, because I do, like I said, even though I watch that stuff, it's one of the biggest upsides to having as much access as we do to our online banking and such, is that you literally can, like you said, set dollar amounts and do this all this other stuff to where, because if you get one, like if you set the dollar amount low, you get, if someone does use a smaller amount, because sometimes that's how, they'll do $25, $50. Yeah, exactly. And you go, wait a minute, I didn't do that. Yeah. So, whereas if you have it set at like $300, they may,
might not notice it.
Yeah. And also, I mean, I understand, like, if you're going to scam somebody, I mean, it'd be easier to get away with doing $25, $30, $50 on somebody than, because you hit 300, they're going to notice. You're like, whoa, where'd all this, you hit them for somebody for $25. A lot of people would not necessarily notice that,
I had that happen where it was a $30 thing, and I'm like, okay, I wasn't quite sure, and it kind of looked like it could be familiar.
Yeah.
It didn't jump out at me at all.
Yeah. It's one of the things I hate, though, sometimes, like when something gets billed to like PayPal or something, and you look at it and you're like, it doesn't really tell you who it was to, and I'm like, there's been times I've actually called. I've called PayPal a couple of times, but like, who is this? Because I don't recognize. And then they'll tell me, I'm like, oh, okay, that's something I ordered or whatever. But like if you order from like FYE, the entertainment store chain. If you order something from them, I forgot what their billing is. It's something, it's like, I don't know, it's blah, blah entertainment, but it's not for your entertainment. Like FYE, it doesn't add up. So when the bill showed, I was like, what the hell? Like who's charging $30 on my card? And then I look, I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, that's me. Like, dang it. I was hoping I'd get that $30 back, Yeah. No. Oh, man. So, all right. Well, since we're in, it's funny. I actually have quite a few like geek type stuff, even though that other stuff was like nerd stuff. Let's move away from that into geek stuff, which, again, this isn't new news, but I'm sure, a lot of people saw that Peter Mayhew, who's known for playing Chewbacca in all the Star Wars movies, passed away the other day, which really wasn't a surprise to me. I saw him like 15 years ago at Chicago Wizard World. And while I was standing in line for something else, he was standing there, and I actually got to talk to him for about 5 minutes. He was super nice.
Oh, cool.
But he's always looked like he was on death's door. And I don't mean to speak ill of the dead kind of a thing, but, I know, and watching him walk was like, he had some issues at times and stuff. So I actually was kind of surprised he lived as long as he did. I'm glad he did. I don't wish anyone to die, but, yeah, it was, sad for a lot of people, especially after losing, Princess Leia last year and losing Chewbacca this year. And, I think a lot of people are like, okay, well, it's probably for the best that Han Solo's dead in the movies. Spoilers, sorry. I
like that guy at the end.
Yeah. That would be me in the crowd. Or I'd be the like guy who, when there's a standing ovation, there's always that one person at the end that's still like, like everybody else is done, but there's that one person. I'd be that guy, I'd be the one who came in late with my boo, So yeah, that's, but anyways, that's, it's always sad when you see something that's, especially for a lot of people, it's so, so much a part of their childhood or whatever. And, or their favorite character or whatever.
It's because it's a dude suit, for some reason, it just doesn't hit me the same. I'm sorry, but it doesn't.
I understand that. Yeah. I mean, if James Earl Jones died, though,
I totally understand the impact on the Star Wars fans.
Yeah.
And I absolutely get it. It'd be no different than musicians for me, anything like that. But it's a little bit different, right? Because
I'm going to remember this when somebody from Kiss dies. No. Like, it's just a dude in makeup. No, I'm kidding.
Kind of shocking that they're all still alive.
Actually, yeah, a little bit.
Oh, I saw. Speaking of people dying, I watched the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah,
induction ceremony for this year.
Yeah,
and I tell you, fucking Stevie Nicks, holy shit, she killed it. Like, she killed it. She was so good, and I don't know why I'm surprised, but
yeah.
I guess I just. Well, I know why, because like the last performance, the guy can't sing like he used to. And so, that happens a lot.
Yep.
But then again, she never, ever went out of her range.
Yeah.
She has always sung in her range, and she was entertaining and her speech was good. But the best performance of the whole night was The Cure. And also to see Robert get up on stage and have to address a crowd. The man is notoriously, reclusive.
Yeah.
It's not like he goes out and does interviews. He is extremely shy, with massive anxiety,
I'll be honest, like when I first read that they were being inducted, I was kind of like, I wonder if he'll show up. Like, I kind of wondered if they might no-show it, not to be jerks or anything, but just to this isn't me kind of a thing.
Yeah. And he got what's great is they had Trent Reznor induct them, which was perfect because very, very much influenced, and they're, they know each other and everything.
Right.
And so he gets up there and he's got all the various people that have played in the band behind him. And he just, what was amazing was, he does his whole thing. It was really genuine. It was sweet. It was heartfelt. And then he starts playing and I realized, wow, he is exactly the same person, whether he's talking to people or whether he's performing. He has the same vibe. Yeah. And it was really cool to see. It's just like, and a great performance. They did great, but
that always helps because it adds legitimacy, or not legitimacy.
It does, yeah.
But it makes like their angstiness, or not angsty, but their moodiness, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. It feels more genuine then. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It really does. Yeah. Like the way he sings is like how he addressed the audience. It was really cool. Huh. But at the end, they get to Def Leppard. And it was kind of cool because Brian May inducted them.
Yeah.
And they've got a total history. And Brian May does a great,
do
great
really quick. Sorry to interrupt you again.
Yeah.
Do they get to pick who inducts them, or does the hall do that, or a committee or something?
And this is actually, it's interesting that you bring this up. There have been years recently where the person getting inducted had no connection with the people that were inducting them.
That's weird.
And it was odd. Yeah. So like, it was like, let's just say, I think the Black Keys inducted, I don't remember who it was now, but they said before the show, whoever it was kind of like, who are you guys? I had no idea. And they were fans.
Yeah.
So I don't know what their process is for doing this, but in this case, it was clearly like Brian was like, "Oh, I'm doing this."
Yeah,
like
sure.
When he found out, he got a hold of them, was like, "I want to do this." But
I was just wondering because like WWE, when they do their Hall of Fame thing, it's kind of both. Like it's allegedly that whoever's being inducted gets to choose, but there is also, I think they have to have approval, basically. Like they got to run it by Vince McMahon.
Sure.
But for the most part, from what I've read, it's whoever. They get to choose who inducts them. And most of the time that adds to it. You pick a rival or a best friend through the business and the stories come out and they're awesome stories,
Yep.
Which is why they do it that way. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. And that was like this thing. There was a total personal connection between the band and Brian, and they'd played on stage together before and all this stuff. And so when the band finally comes up there, Joe Elliott reads a pre-prepared speech, which was awesome. And rather than having every band member get up there and do their little spiel, mm-hmm. he just laid everything out really genuine. And the best part is he starts right off with their original guitar player Pete Willis, who is not in the band anymore. And it was, it's too bad that Pete wasn't there. It would have been really cool if he was just like, dude, I was done with that a long time ago. Don't need to be involved with it.
Right.
But like, I really appreciate when an artist acknowledges that we wouldn't be where we are today if it weren't for the people that started with us. Regardless of why they're no longer with us, they were instrumental. And I thought that was really cool. But he gets to the point of talking about how that every time they get something good happen, something bad happens.
Yeah.
Like Pyromania, amazing album. Drummer loses his arm.
Not a great thing. Yeah.
Not a good thing. And said, but Rick came back stronger.
Mm.
And the crowd starts applauding, and then they give him a standing ovation, and the dude totally lost it on the stage. And it was amazing.
That's really cool.
Like it was really, really cool because, if it was like, Joe Elliott says his name, blah, 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 he does a little bow, and literally the crowd just stood up and didn't sit down. They just kept applauding him. And the next thing you know, you just see his eyes start to tear up. His wife in the crowd is like wiping tears. It was such an amazing acknowledgement.
Wow.
Like it was super moving. I'm like, this was awesome. and then, they go through the whole thing and then they get up and perform and it's like, oh, dude, you can't sing anymore like you used to.
I heard him last year before I think it was on like the Country Music Awards or one of those type of things. And I was like, ooh, he does not have it anymore. Like, he can still sing, but if they're gonna do their catalog, they're gonna have to readjust the songs. And they don't. And so here's the thing that I've learned about is a lot of the metal singers, what they're or the hard rock singers, some of them have an extended range. Yeah. Where a lot of them have learned to turn a falsetto into an extended range. And yes, you're falsetto, but they've learned to kind of work their vocal cords in a way so that their falsetto has projection. Okay. Right. I can do it every once in a while. Like if I'm just in the right zone, I can project my falsetto like ridiculously loud, but for the most part, it's weak and pathetic. And that's what Joe Elliott has left now is a weak falsetto. And he did all of those songs that way. Okay. And you could just hear, because as soon as he comes back into his normal range, it's like the tone, everything changes. And I'm just like, ooh, bummer. Yeah, it is always sad when that happens. It was like the first concert I ever went to was it was the Beach Boys, Chicago, and John Schneider. And the Beach Boys still sounded pretty good. Chicago was amazing. They blew the roof off the place. And John Schneider was fine, but I had no clue of any of his songs. I only knew him as the dude from the Dukes of Hazzard. So, yeah, but he's fine. He's a good singer and everything. But yeah, nothing wrong with him. But and the Beach Boys sounded okay. But then it was like a few years later, I heard him on TV doing a performance, and I was like, ooh, because that guy was known for that like really high sound to his voice, and it's not there anymore. And like you're just saying, it's like there was no adjustment there. And it's kind of like, it actually was funny. We were at, a couple of weeks ago when we were out for Tony's birthday, or a week ago. I mean, there was a guy playing live music at the one bar we were at. And, what song was it? Oh, he was playing She Will Be Loved. And he went after the high notes. He didn't hit him, but he went after him. I mean, I'll give him all the credit in the world for trying, but it was like, you probably should know, and maybe, I don't know, maybe he just had a bad night or something too, I don't know, but it was like, you gotta know you can't hit that and like bring it down one or something like that, or something to, adjust for that so it doesn't sound, cause it sounded so bad when he didn't hit it, and he kept doing it. And I'm just like, dude, like, come on, man. Like, you're killing yourself up here. Like, after the first one, you'd think he'd be like, ooh, I missed that bad. like maybe let's do a little something different here later. Or something. Yeah. But,
audible.
Yeah. Omaha. Yeah. Right. And it's like, I mean, I can't criticize too much because, I mean, I couldn't even get up there and hit the lowest of notes. So, whatever. They're all too high for me to jump to. Speaking of the Hall of Fame thing, I was looking here to see if I could find who chooses the introducers. Yeah. Or whatever, and I can't really seem to find that. It's probably out there. I just have to dig better for it. But it mentions on here that the Dire Straits went in and had nobody introduce them.
Yeah, because they didn't show up.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that makes sense.
They weren't there,
right? Okay.
That was last year. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, so they, I don't remember how it was handled.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, right here. It says the ceremony's weird refusal to recognize Dire Straits seemingly sprang from the Dire Straits frontman Mark Knopfler's weird refusal to recognize the ceremony. He didn't attend. Yeah. He didn't explain why he wasn't attending. He didn't even publicly acknowledge the induction at all, one way or the other. Neither did the drummer, who also wasn't there.
Yeah.
And, what is it? Knopfler's brother and bandmate David also skipped, saying the Rock Hall reneged on their promise to pay for his travel expenses. So that's half the people in the band that would have been there for it. Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah, and those are the weird, there's these little weird quirks with the Hall and especially it just cracks me up when sometimes I'll just whoever's giving the award, it's like, what, you have no connection to this band. Like, you couldn't find anyone with a connection. Like, come on.
Yeah, WWE has done that a few times where there's someone, especially if it's someone who's dead, they'll have, like, there's been a couple times where they'd have random person and you're like, I guess, they wrestled during the same time, but they weren't like, and what they've done with some others is they've allowed their family to introduce them. Like Jim the Anvil Neidhart this past WrestleMania when they inducted the Hart Foundation tag team. His daughter, Natalia, who's a current wrestler for WWE, her and, she came out, I'm sorry, to accept on his behalf. Her and Bret Hart came out as the two. But, that was a really cool moment. Everybody loved that they did that because, she's the niece of Bret Hart, the daughter of Jim the Anvil Neidhart, and a current wrestler. So, you kind of have... Yeah, and you could just tell the emotion was overwhelming her because her dad died like last year, so that's still fairly fresh. And, it still made for a really good moment, but it was, that one made sense. I can't remember. There was one like a year or two ago that everybody was like, really? Like... they're inducting so-and-so, and then later you find out that it was WWE insisted on it, basically. So, yeah, there's been, maybe it was Macho. No, was it Macho Man? Might have been Macho Man, because I think maybe Hulk Hogan introduced him. It was something like that. Or it was Ultimate Warrior and Hogan it was something like, I'm pretty sure it was Hulk Hogan, and it was weird. Because even though they knew each other, they were also known to not be friends, essentially. But Hogan got up there and talked about how great of friends they were. And everybody was like, kind of a thing. But
there's something on Macho Man I heard recently. Like they were asking, I think they were talking about people that have like outrageous personas if they were like that in normal life too.
Yeah, the Vice documentary talks about that. His brother,
that's what it was.
His brother, who was known as the wrestler, the Genius.
That's what it was.
Yeah, was actually like, no, and a bunch of people were like, no, that's actually him. Like that voice was totally his voice and all that. Yeah, I still haven't got to watch that documentary. I've heard it's okay. I heard that one's not the strongest of all of them, but I still am going to watch it. But I heard it's more sad than anything because, it probably talks about Miss Elizabeth and, she died from drugs and whatnot. And then obviously Macho Man died of a heart attack and, whatever. Yep. So just sad all around. But I need to watch the Hall of Fame. I keep forgetting because I have access to it. I have HBO. I just can't.
The reason I brought it up too is it's actually good. It was they did something different. You know how like they induct the person and then the person performs?
Yeah.
Stevie Nicks did the opposite. She performed first and then they did the induction, which was kind of cool.
Ah, okay. That's interesting. It was, we were watching, what was it? The Billboard Music Awards show the other night. And they have, like every year, they have like an icon award or something like that. And this year it went to Mariah Carey. And, which, whether you like her or not, you think she's crazy, who cares? I mean, you can't deny her iconic status.
Yeah.
She's got all the stats you could want and blah, blah. So, anyway, So she came out and performed, which most of the time when they do like those iconic awards, they don't perform. They just come out, someone comes out, does a long retrospective, and then here's your award kind of a thing. But she came out and did like a medley of songs. It was weird, though, because I don't think she moved from where she was standing the whole time she performed. It was kind of odd, because you're used to, most musicians moving around a little bit at least, and she just stood there and sang. The microphone stayed in the stand the whole time. And then when she was done, Jennifer Hudson was the one, what do you call it, giving her the award, introducing her and everything. I was like, is she going to walk over there? Like, cause I was like, like she hasn't moved yet. And then she walks over, but she's walking over really carefully, which I'm sure is partly the whole, I've heard women, celebrities talking about this, and also like pro wrestlers as they're going down the ramp for WrestleMania is like, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall.
Gotcha, yeah.
And she was on some pretty tall heels, so
yeah.
And it looked like the dress was pretty tight, so maybe she just couldn't really move in it, But it was kind of weird at first, and then she got over there, and she gave a pretty nice speech and everything. It was an interesting moment though, because like I said, I was like, is she gonna move? Like, like why isn't she moving around a little bit?
It's funny.
Probably just not her style. I've never seen her perform really, in a concert type setting. So yeah, maybe that's just what she does. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a few acts in this year's Hall of Fame thing that there always is. There's always a few that it's like, ooh, I kind of want to see either their speech or their performance or both. Sometimes it's, disappointing, whatever. One of the links that popped up when I was looking for the other was essentially about who decides which members of a band goes in.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because I was going to ask you that, because I haven't paid a lot of attention to it over the years. Because it's like, Kiss. Everybody knows there's more than 4 members of Kiss, or, there's been other members in various other bands, Black Sabbath, and take a pick. Pretty much every band's probably had someone in or out or whatever. And I was always wondering, it's like, like some of them in my head, it's easy to pick. Like if I'm putting Guns N' Roses in there, it's an easy pick. Who's going in, I'm going with the original lineup, and that's it, because anybody else doesn't feel like Guns N' Roses to me. So, but then, I saw people arguing, like, with Metallica that Dave Mustaine should be inducted, too, and I'm like, he wasn't with them when they had any... I mean, granted, he wrote songs off their first album, but it was like, he wasn't there for any of the other stuff, so it's like, no. So, yeah, I was just kind of curious how that works, because... There are bands who have had, or Chicago, or different bands where they've just had, various people in and out over the years, or even like, what was it when the Eagles were in? I think the Eagles were inducted, weren't they? Like years ago. I think there was.
Oh yeah,
I
sure.
remember reading something about like whether or not Don Henley would be part of it. Not that he wouldn't be inducted, but just
yeah.
And I saw some people.
That's usually more typical.
Yeah.
Is whether someone's going to perform
right
that night.
Right. And that's the thing. I could see that because he wasn't with them all the time. He did leave and whatever, and they all went their separate ways and, whatever. But
yeah,
I don't know. It's like if you're going to try to get the Eagles, I mean, now obviously you couldn't because Glenn Fry's dead, but you still get the rest of the guys, but yeah.
So like for example, you take Van Halen.
Yeah, that's a great example. There you go. That's
right?
one. I don't know why it didn't come to my face quicker.
So they couldn't, there was so much crap going on at that time with the band. Like Michael Anthony had just gotten kicked out. And, I think Eddie was going into rehab, and they were talking to David Lee Roth coming back, but it was like all of this stuff couldn't happen at the same time. And so like Sammy Hagar and Michael Anthony show up, get the awards, and that's it.
Yeah.
No performance, nothing.
Which is, so I mean, granted, you wouldn't be able to because of, like you said, the circumstances. But it's a shame because who wouldn't want to see, Van Halen get up there? What would have been funny to me is if they would have done kind of almost not a medley, but kind of a medley where it starts with David Lee Roth and then Sammy Hagar comes out, and like they just do a little bit with each singer and just induct everybody. Well, maybe not the last guy, but I can't think of his name. Was it Gary Cherone or whatever his name was? Yeah. Like, they can leave him off. But the other two both had a lot of hits and some, really good success with them. So, I mean, to the point that people were referring to them as Van Hagar. That way, which era they're talking about, kind of a thing. So,
because like last year, or no, it was the year before. When Chicago was inducted, like Peter Cetera didn't show up. They had their other singer show up, you know, and they pretty much didn't even mention him, and that was because he wanted to be there, but only if they changed the keys of the songs because he doesn't sing at that range anymore.
Which makes sense. What I was talking about a little bit ago. You want to make sure if you're going to perform, you sound good. You know?
Yeah.
You don't want to get up
And
there
like-
and be that guy who can't hit that note anymore.
Yeah, like Journey, when they got inducted, Steve Perry wasn't there.
Right.
Or wait a minute. What? All right, there was a lot. He was there. I take that back. I'm sorry.
Okay.
He was there. He didn't perform though. And the cool thing about it is because there was a lot of talk about whether there was going to be a reunion or not. But at least they all showed up. And Steve went as far as to just publicly acknowledge how amazing their singer is. That the guy that actually got up and performed. And I'm like, now that's class.
That is class, because he easily could have been like, he's all right.
Yeah, but he went up and he's and called him out by name and said,
that's even better. He didn't go, that new guy, or some way of it's
exactly,
still a backhanded compliment,
Yeah, because I know when Guns N' Roses, I think they couldn't get it together, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I feel like you're right, but I don't remember, because that's been a couple years ago or whatever. And like I said, I didn't pay a lot of attention to it, because honestly, that was around the time where people who had heard Axl sing were like, yeah, you don't want to hear this, kind of a thing.
I think Axl stayed home.
Yeah, well, big surprise. Yeah. That's what he was known for. That and leaving early. Yeah.
Well, what's kind of crazy is this last tour was they nailed it. Oh, that was the other one.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Bon Jovi.
Mm-hmm.
That because they're like Richie's on the outs. Like that's like he's not in the band. He's not welcome in the band. Nobody wants to have anything to do with him in the band.
Right.
He has just, he doesn't want to treat his alcoholism. And the band's just like, nope, not interested.
Yeah.
But he showed up and they performed.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Because again, like I was saying before, with like certain bands, it's like you can't, in my head, you can't put Bon Jovi in there and not put Richie Sambora in, because he's the guitarist for all of their big songs, basically. Yeah. I mean, you almost can't deny him that,
Yeah.
But like you said, you could see where they were like, hey, we're not going to perform with him though. Like we're not letting him perform.
But they decided to do it.
Yeah.
And it was cool.
Yeah.
But the Kiss thing, it's kind of a shame, because if you look at in the 80s, they had a lot of success with Bruce Kulick and what's his name on drums? Eric Carr.
Yeah, there you go.
And yet they were employees.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
They were never in the band. They were employees.
Yeah.
But even still, they kept playing for a long time, and even they got replaced.
Yeah. Yeah, because they were employees. Like you said, that's it.
Yep.
They weren't, like you said, they weren't. And when there was big talk of, like, oh, Kiss is reuniting, it wasn't like, oh, hey, we're bringing these two guys back who were just the most recent members or whatever. It's like, oh no, they're bringing back Peter Criss and
yeah, that's the bummer thing, is they brought in Peter Criss and Ace Frehley.
Yeah, Ace
Frehley. They dumped Bruce. They dumped, we're going to bring these guys back. And then in that tour, they lasted 2 years maybe. And then they were out again. And this time they bring in new guys and they do the full makeup.
Yeah, that was so weird.
Which they'd never done before. That's a story.
Yeah. So. Good fun.
Boy, we got some good segues happening tonight.
Yeah. All right. So go back to my nerd stuffs here.
Yes.
Did you see this has been a big thing because of how it's turned out, but I'm sure you've heard about the whole Sonic the Hedgehog trailer.
Yes, I heard about it today.
Did you watch it?
I did not.
Oh my God. It's so bad. Like, it's almost like they tried to make him more human than cartoony, and it's creepy. I saw but because people were like boo to it so fast and furious on the internet, they're changing it. And because people wanted to look more like the video game Sonic, which I figured they would do anyway. I don't know what, like for the Detective Pikachu movie, they didn't make him like a 6 foot tall dude, but for Sonic, for some reason, it's like, okay, look, a hedgehog is really small. So even using the cartoon version is much bigger than a real hedgehog. If you then elongate it, it's weird and creepy, you know? I saw like people almost immediately were like, here's this, you know, like basically like this is all they need to do. And there was just like a little change to his eyes and a little change to his mouth. And I was like, yes, that looks perfect. Actually, you don't even have to worry about the height, but that looks perfect. Like it was just a real slight change. It was like, I don't know who stylistically was like, you know, let's change this, but you know, some goober from Hollywood because they can't leave anything alone, you know. Something that was, you know, big and popular, they go, how can we tweak it? You know, like instead of just giving people what they expect. I mean, not that I think most people were really excited over a Sonic movie anyway, but
yeah,
I know I wasn't. Yeah, so the studio though is going to go through and change the character design, and
which is amazing.
I hope for their sake, really, that, and see, this is one of those things though that you know, different times when things have air quote leaked out and people are, you know, like, and then when it actually comes out, it doesn't look anything like that. And for now, with the world we live in now, you know, it's free market research. You just put that out there and people go, this is terrible, we hate it. And you go, wow, we have millions of people saying this is garbage. Maybe we should fix it. So they fix it and then put out a better thing by the time. It's way cheaper to do that than it is to put it out and just have the movie tank because people hate it, you know, or don't want to go see it because it just looks terrible. You know, at least this way you get a chance at a redo before you actually put it out to the public.
Before you totally bomb.
Yeah. I mean, it still might, who knows, you know, but I think that different things that we've seen come out like this, I think it's a smart move because, like I said, you get to, you know, because it always scares me when you don't get to see, like, they're like, oh, here's a new Godzilla movie. We're not going to show you Godzilla, though. And it's like, oh, boy. You know, like, what did you do to Godzilla? You know, like the Godzilla 2000, the one with Matthew Broderick in it. And I was like, what is this? This isn't Godzilla. Yeah. And it's like, if you had shown me that beforehand, I wouldn't have seen this movie. Also, you know, P. Diddy ruining Kashmir. But anyway, man. So, yeah, this should be interesting. I'm curious to see what the redesign looks like. Like I said, if they're smart, they'll just try to keep it as close to the video game as they can.
I mean, the fan redesigns that I saw looked really good.
And they're super easy. Like, most of them are not, like, drastic redesigns. They're just very slight, you know, like I said, facial or whatever redesigns. And that's
a little bit with the body shape, but, you know.
But all those things, given the world we're in with the animation and stuff, those shouldn't be difficult tweaks. You know? It's not like they have to go hand draw all of that. You know, like I'm sure they have the models in the computers and stuff that they can just tweak those and probably put them in there without. I mean, I'm sure it'll be expensive, but it won't be horribly time consuming compared to, you know, like I said, the amount of money they would lose if they released that movie as is. Because right now, that would be one that a lot of people would just tank. It'd be horrible on Rotten Tomatoes before it ever came out. You know, probably already is. I didn't even look, but probably. The other thing I saw that was funny from this was the whole James Marsden is in it. And I saw a meme the other day that was like, you know, he needs to get a better agent because it shows him in the car with Sonic. And then underneath it or above it, I think it shows a picture of him from the movie Hop with the rabbit in a car.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, yep. But that shows you the power of the internet. And, you know, it's actually, I don't think this is one of those times where people were just hating it to hate it. I think, like, when I saw it, my reaction was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, like, what is this? Yeah.
Yeah. So. And it wasn't even we'll give it a chance. And it was like, you know?
Yeah, no, it basically just got slammed and crushed and makes you go, hey, Twitter, can you guys speak up about a few other things that are wrong?
Right? Yeah, if only the outrage on some things would lead to change as easily as they did for this, you know?
Yeah.
Because there is plenty that Twitter gets outraged about that, you know, just the next day everyone forgets about and goes back to, you know, whatever the new outrage is.
That's it.
So, did you see they announced that there's going to be Hulu's going to be getting a Ghost Rider TV show?
I did not hear about this.
Yeah, and apparently I think it's the same guy who played Ghost Rider on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but it's going to be nothing like that iteration of Ghost Rider, apparently. Which I didn't see, so I don't even know what that reference. I was too afraid to watch. So
I'm with you on that one.
Although,
I would be a little leery too.
Super excited for a Ghost Rider TV show, though. I always dug that character. Always thought it was kind of cool. And again, we live in an age now to where CGI wise, nothing is really outside the realm of possibilities anymore. They can make believable heroes and stuff now. So it's, all the flames and stuff. I mean, just as long as he's not, I'm getting my inspiration from Nicolas Cage. So terrible. But it's not a surprise, though, because, Disney, for anyone who doesn't know, Disney has the controlling share of Hulu.
Oh, that's right.
So people have been kind of wondering if maybe Hulu might get kind of various Disney, Marvel type stuff. Also, because Disney still makes money off of it, even though most people assume anything Disney that's new will go right to their, was it Disney Plus or whatever it's called?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So, all right. I got one last nerd thing here. And that's, did you see how fast Disney put up for people to be able to take tours of the new Star Wars worlds at Disneyland and Disney World, and they sold out in lightning fast time. Just poof, and it was sold out. Shoot, I forgot I meant to grab a story I could cite here, but I forgot. Whoopsies. Dang it, I can't remember now. Here we go. I got this from CNBC. Here we go. I expected this to move fast. Yeah, less than 2 hours. It was, these are reservations for the first month of Galaxy's Edge, which is the exhibit. Are opening or closed. Online fans were permitted to sign up for 4-hour windows to visit the new land at Disneyland in California. The new land is set on Batu, a planet not yet seen on film. It's a thriving port filled with rogue traders, droids, and unique alien species. So, I read that, about it. It seems like it'll be really cool. I guess there's, while you're there, the experience is basically you can go in and you can do certain things, but you can also, as the guy who's one of the runners of it or whatever, designers, he called it playing Star Wars with them, which is basically via your mobile device or something. You can, if you do something, you can essentially end up on a bounty hunter's list. There's different experiences you can have via interactive type things. So as you're going around participating, you're also it's part of a world that you're submersed in instead of just being here's a ride. I was like, oh, that sounds really cool. Actually, that's kind of neat.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah. So I was trying to think there was something, and also there's a hotel that the guy said is not a hotel. He said that basically anyone who stays there will get a Star Wars experience. They get to participate in some sort of Star Wars storyline while they're staying in the hotel, essentially.
Oh, cool.
Which sounds really cool. I'm sure it'll be booked for a long time, but it'll also probably be terribly expensive, I would think, but probably still a really cool thing to do. Yeah, they said parkgoers will be able to visit the new land after June 23rd without a reservation. But if the crowd gets too big, Disney said some experiences in the land will be restricted or unavailable. There we go. And the second one in Orlando opens in August. So, Yeah, I'll have a thing here. Yeah, Disney Park guests will be able to explore the planet's Black Spire outpost and shops, as well as pilot the Millennium Falcon on the Smuggler's Run ride, and take part in an epic battle between the First Order and the Resistance on the Rise of the Resistance ride. And then there'll be shops and restaurants and, whatever. So, finally a reason for me to want to go to Disney World.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it sounds pretty cool. I mean,
that sounds really fun.
And I'm sure they put a lot into the thought process and stuff on this, because this is a huge addition to Disney World and Disneyland. I think it's over like $1 billion expansion.
Yeah.
And they know they got to get it right. If it comes out and it's stupid, they'll never hear the end of it.
Well, it's because they have to compete with the whole Harry Potter world shit.
Which is realistically, like when I was at Universal, it was amazing how many people were in that part of the park that weren't in the rest of the park.
And people love it.
And they added that whole new section and train and whatnot. So
it's super interactive. So they have to hit it. They have to nail it out of the park. God.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty awful here. No? Pretty awful.
No respect at all,
Yep, that's right. 0.
Yep.
Oh, man.
Whew. Got anything else?
I do, but that's all I have that's like, nerd related or geek related, however you want to, whatever term you prefer to use for yourself. Even though I have a very strong difference in the two. So, you got anything or
just a little shut up and take my money?
Oh, okay. Well, we're not there yet. Getting close. I got to look at it.
That's all I got.
I should probably look at the time.
We're pushing it. You and me.
Yeah.
Because there's no nodding off going on, so we can do this for hours.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah, wow. Yeah, actually, we are. You're right. We're already... all right.
Like, seriously, I'm just like, I looked over and I'm like, we have another hour to go, right? Oh,
nope.
Okay.
We sure do not. Yeah. Okay, well, I have 2 last things here, and then we'll do your Sherp and Take My Money, and then we'll go home. The first one, this cracked me up the other day. If the story will load, there we go. There was an INSYS executive gave doctor lap dance while promoting drug, witness says. An ex-stripper who became a regional sales director at INSYS Therapeutics gave a doctor a lap dance at a Chicago club as the drug maker pushed the doctor to prescribe its addictive fentanyl spray, a former employee testified on Tuesday.
Not surprising.
Right? Well, and that's the thing. I mean, for anyone who's seen some of these, like, these reps for some of these companies, like, they might as well be the same women who are promoting booze at festivals.
Yeah. These people are going to jail right now.
Yeah. And they should be. As someone who's lost 2 family members to fentanyl overdoses, fuck them. But, yeah, this is a real issue.
Huh?
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, whatever gets the job done, right?
I guess so. Yeah, you got to work your magic, huh?
Yeah. So that was really shitty. I mean, there's just no other way to look at that. It made me laugh given, like, when you take the other stuff out of it, when you just look at the fact that it was like, what can I do to change your mind today? And he just pats his lap, come give daddy a ride, Like, it's like, what? So, yeah. Like I said, it just reminds me of the women that'll talk to you all day, but they're trying to get you to buy, alcohol or whatever at an event of some sort. I'm not putting this on women. It's just, that's my experience with it. Because I'm sure there's guys that do the same bullshit. Although,
yeah.
I would, I would much prefer to see a guy giving an executive a lap dance. Like, that would be a much better, like, you just picture somebody standing there like, what the hell is going on over there? Why does that exec look so uncomfortable? or extremely comfortable, depending on who it is, whatever. So, yeah, that's,
wow.
Yep. And let's see here. Oh, the last thing was, did you see Burger King's new meals?
No.
No? So I saw a commercial. Well, it was on the news the other day, and I disagree with the news, but they positioned it as the catchphrase for it is because not everyone's happy all the time. And everybody seems to take that as their dig at McDonald's because the Happy Meal, right? Now, the meal that they're doing is like a Whopper meal, so it's not even in direct competition with a Happy Meal. But I think it's a little tongue-in-cheek. I'll give it that. But I think it worked out conveniently that way because they're actually going after, since this is mental health, I forgot what it is, mental health month of some sort. I don't remember which one because there's so many of them now. But dang it, where's the link for this at? There it is.
Wow.
Oh, actually, I don't have a story for it. But they're called Real Meals is what... do you have it in front of you? Because I can't remember the names of all of them. Does it have the names?
They have so they're different moods for different colors. So 5 moods: the piston red, blue for sad, salty and teal, YAAAS and purple. What is that?
Like yeah.
Yes. Okay, and then DJF for don't give a fuck in black.
Right. I wish the salty one was in black. Just because, salty language in our stuff is black and white. So that would have been awesome. I'm still going to have to get one to take a picture with it because salty. But does it say what group they partnered with on there? Because it's a mental health advocacy group, I think it is.
It was saying Burger King also produced a commercial for the Feel Your Way campaign featuring young people experiencing the promotion's range of emotions.
Yeah.
Like it's okay to not be happy all the time.
Mm-hmm. Which that's the thing is that they're shooting at mental health stigma.
Oh, Mental Health America. That's what it is.
But it's just, it also works as a convenient shot at McDonald's with the Happy Meal thing.
Yeah. Mental Health Awareness Month is May. Yeah.
Right. But I don't think, like I said, if you read it and read what it is, it's like, I think it's just one of those where they probably were like, hey, we're doing this. And then someone was like, wait, I got it. And they were like, and then they pulled that line out because it's brilliant for both purposes. So.
Huh.
Yeah. Now, I will say this. I kind of wish each meal was different because I think they're all the same thing. I think it would be really funny if, certain ones came with like ice cream or something instead and, or cookies or whatever. And the real salty one just comes with, I don't know what. But I just kind of wish there was something a little different to each one. But
they're just Whopper meals.
Yeah. And I am curious, I assume you have to order which one you want, but
yeah, because that's your choice of your mood.
Mm-hmm. Now, the other thing I would like to see that I don't know, maybe it's in there. I would like to see maybe some of the proceeds go to mental health, awareness or to a group or like that group or something like that. I don't remember seeing anything about that though.
Yeah, there's nothing in there specific.
Yeah, which probably means it doesn't. Because otherwise that'd be a selling point, like, hey, order one of these and we'll give, 5 millionths of a cent to mental health awareness, like most companies do.
Oh, God.
What?
McDonald's burger bought in Utah in 1999 looks exactly the same as the day it was first flipped.
Delicious. Perfect.
Even after it spent 2 years in a coat pocket. Oh, God, that stuff makes me want to puke.
Okay, first of all, why are you keeping a burger in your coat pocket for 2 years? Let's talk about this first. That's where I put it.
Okay, so he says he meant to keep it for a month to show his friends how a preservative-packed hamburger would keep its composure, but he forgot about it. Then he found it 2 years later in his coat pocket. He decided to keep the experiment going.
Wow.
So 14 years later.
Wow.
Nasty.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no other way of looking at it than that. That's disgusting. Man.
The burger had no signs of mold, fungus, or even a strange odor.
Ooh, nice.
The only thing that had changed over the years was that the pickle had disintegrated.
Well, at least there's something in it that did. Jeez.
He's even got the original receipt.
What? Oh,
Proof,
man.
Alrighty.
Wow. Oh my goodness. See, this right here proves exactly what I hate about the way this is approached with those meals, though. Is as I was scrolling through, one of them down here says Burger King's new real meals are a sad alternative to Happy Meals. See what I mean? That immediately, okay, all of those moods you said are not sad.
No.
They're alternatives to being happy, yes, but they're not sad. And that bugs the shit out of me because that just did a less than move. You know?
Yep.
Ugh. And that's exactly why this shit needs to happen. Because people keep doing little minimizing crap like that. I should find out who the author of that is and go after him. Like, I'm so tired of this.
I heard something about McDonald's, like, getting rid of their big, like, they got some extra large Big Mac or something that they got rid of it or something, or they're getting rid of Big Macs completely and just moving to their quarter pounders or something.
That's a terrible move. Yeah. What needs to happen is these places need to no longer offer, like, if you go into Wendy's, you can get like a 4-stacker, like 4 patties tall cheeseburger. It's like, this should not exist. Like a double cheeseburger really is pushing it for serving size,
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Is they had some Big Mac that had like extra patties, and I think they're just getting rid of that.
Yeah, they totally should, because it's just, if those options aren't there, people can't get them, and what'll happen instead is they'll just charge you for an extra patty or whatever. But it just don't make those options available. And I know people should have the right to blah, 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 but look, I love pop, but when they were talking about it in New York about limiting pop size, I was not against that. I was very much like, something has to be done because we clearly cannot police ourselves on this.
Oh yeah. I mean, the original bottles were 8 ounces.
Yeah.
That's it.
I remember when they were that size, or 10 ounces or whatever. I remember when they went from, to 12, and then from 12 to 16, from 16 to 20. It's like, I remember all those different sizes because, I mean, who doesn't want 20 ounces of soda instead of, 10 or whatever? It's, but that's why make it to where you got to buy multiples. That way it's more, it's a pain in the ass. Like, hey, it's still available. You just have to buy more, and then you can have all you want, Anyway.
There was a really cool podcast, I think NPR podcast, about why Cokes were 5 cents for like 70 years.
Yeah.
And it was a really neat story. Like basically at some somebody had came out and was, they were talking about that everything was in soda fountains, right? Mm-hmm. So Coke, they just sold syrup.
Right.
And somebody came into them and was proposing bottles, and they're just like, whatever. No, that's not what we do. Yeah, but fine, whatever. I'll sell, I'll give you guys the syrup for this much, for 5 cents, blah, blah, blah. And it was basically a permanent contract.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. That's awesome.
And so then, so what, if you remember, there's lots of signs all over the, classic signs that say Coca-Cola 5 cents.
Oh, dude, I bought, when we went to Florida when I was, I don't know, 12 to 14, somewhere in that range. The hotel we stayed at, the place next door had a 5 cent Coke machine still. Like in for 5 cents. Like they had neat Cokes in it too. Yeah. So we drank a lot of Coke that weekend.
So and so the reason that Coca-Cola created those signs everywhere is to basically bust these guys.
That's funny.
So they can't make a profit off of it.
Right. Yeah.
And they try. So then bottles became everything, right? Especially after World War I, and it was just like, vending machines became the thing, and so Coke wanted to then make money. Coca-Cola owned like all the vending machines.
Oh yeah, totally. Mm-hmm.
Right. But a nickel. They wanted to make more than a nickel, but a dime was too much. So they actually went to the president at the time to see if they'd make a 7.5-cent coin.
Well, look, if anyone's going to get it done, it would be Coca-Cola, right? I mean,
so that didn't work.
Shit.
So they came up with this other idea. This was amazing. What they did is they put a blank bottle into the vending machine. So like every, 7 or 8 Cokes, it would pop out an empty glass bottle.
Oh man.
And you just didn't know where you were in the order.
Wow.
Yeah, and which is extremely creative, but just stupid.
Yeah. How mad would you be too,
Oh yeah.
Put your nickel in there.
It was Planet Money.
Oh,
NPR's
yeah,
Planet
awesome.
Money.
I'm behind on that podcast. I love that podcast. I started listening to it a few months ago because they had one on the I think I talked about it on here about the economic structure or the economy of Magic the Gathering.
Yes.
It was an awesome episode. So, yeah, definitely go check that podcast out if you haven't already. It's a short podcast too.
Yeah, exactly. They're like all 20 minutes. And this was an old episode, but they brought it back in. Well, right, so NPR kind of screwed up. They did one of those rookie maneuvers where you change how your podcast feed is on your website, and it literally slammed everybody with every episode. Like all of a sudden I look down and I'm like, why do I have 65 episodes downloaded?
That's weird. It didn't do that to me.
It didn't?
No, it did not. I actually was just looking last night to see how many I was behind, and I think it showed 7. That's it.
Yeah, no, their daily one that they release, the news one every morning, that all of a sudden I had 65 downloads. Wow. Planet Money was like 30 something.
Oh, that's why. Okay, because I only subscribe to Planet Money. That's why. Okay. You're probably subscribing to the NPR feed proper, which gives you like all their shows, I think.
Yes.
Okay, that's why. All right. I was like, really? Like, okay. Yeah, I used to subscribe to that, but that kind of thing, not that it happened a lot, but they have a lot of shows, so.
They do.
Yeah,
all of a sudden I had all these things coming in, and I'm like, what the hell?
All right. Well, I guess we should get to the shut up and take my money that you got, eh?
Yeah. Speaking of wrestling, because this is a wrestling podcast, don't you know?
Right. Totally is. I mean, if I had my way, no.
Start every single time.
Yeah. I talk about wrestling on almost...
Take my money.
Whoops. There we go.
I talk all over it.
There's my spot. All right. On the shutupandtakemymoney.com, we have the Luchador windshield wiper decals. So you get one decal of a luchador that's about to do an arm drop that you can put on, like, let's say, your windshield wiper. And then you get another luchador who is lying on his back, prone. And you stick that at the bottom of your window. And so as your windshield wiper goes up and down, it looks like he's dropping a bomb on the other one.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
And it's $16.95, or you can just lay them out just, like on glass somewhere and you can drop. But if you go, the link will be in the show notes. There's actually a video showing it on like the back window of the luchador going back and forth.
Right. Yeah. You got to scroll down a little bit for it, but yeah, it's pretty awesome. It made me laugh. That's for sure.
This really cracked me up. Like, I want this just because it's so unique.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So this goes to our, for sure, our.
Shut up and take my money.
Yeah.
Because, be unique. Have a luchador on your car. $17.
Right? Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, definitely go check that out. It's a good fun little thing. I wish it was a little cheaper, but I mean, not that $17 is horrible, but that feels like a $10 gimmick to me.
It's true, yeah. Like maybe like $11.95 would be.
Yeah, since it's just decals or whatever, it's kind of a thing. But whatever. I mean,
it's pretty funny.
Yeah,
people crack up.
Yep. So, all right, I have one last thing to talk about here, which is a few nights ago, I finally got around to listening to the last episode of, or the last podcast episode, I want to say, of Dark Angels and Pretty Freaks. I had been putting it off a little bit because I think like some people, and I'd read other people did the same thing. It was kind of like, it's going to be bittersweet because I know they're not going away. They're still doing YouTube stuff and all this. But at the same time, it's like, we go back. We got history with everybody, So it was really kind of fun, though, to listen to them reminisce over this, some of the good. And as Annalise called her, the one moment I remember her saying that was a bad time on podcasting was when she came on our show.
Got hammered,
which you can go back and check out on, if you look at The Enthusiast. I believe it's, what is it? It's called like Those Dark Angels and Pretty Freaks Jerks, or it's something like that. It's Those Dark Angels and Pretty Freaks something. Cause I think Neil says it, and then I titled the show that. But like I said, it was kind of bittersweet listening to it, but, onward and upward and everything. So obviously wish them the best going forward, but it'll be sad not having that pop into my, podcast feed every week,
Yeah, it has been. And now, reasons are several that Neil does with Matt is also calling it quits.
And I gotta say, one of the weirdest parts listening to it this much later is I knew that was going to happen, because I'd already seen them kind of talking about it on Twitter.
Yep.
And the whole time I'm listening to this episode, Neil keeps going, well, I'm still part of Reasons Are Several.
Yeah,
I'm real excited about what's going to
You're like,
happen.
no, you're not.
And I'm like, I know the future. No, you aren't.
Yeah. So they had somebody, create a little store for their, like goods, t-shirts and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think they need to rename the store like the Dead Podcast t-shirt shop or something. Cause we'll throw Gotham Lights in there.
Oh my God.
That's finito too.
Yes. And Graphic Novice needs to get in
Novice,
there. Oh man.
Green Up.
Yeah. Yes.
Musings of a Geek. Right.
Totally.
So we just have a Dead Podcast.
I love it.
It's like
Hobie.
Like,
because they're dead to me.
Great store for you guys. Both podcasts done.
Yeah. Like I said, Hobie should be a part of it because dead to me. So
yes, exactly. Yeah. It'll just be the For Brian section.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm the only one.
Shows dead to Brian tab.
That's a good way to start. I like that.
That's actually a great way to do it. Give each one a category.
Oh, man, that would be fun. Yeah, I do agree with you though. I think all those other podcasts should have like honorable mentions on there at least, or a Hall of Fame, like Dead Podcast Hall of Fame, something like that.
So you just buy gear for shows that no longer exist because everyone's got some.
That's our new podcast, Henno. You and I could do a show called the Dead Podcast Hall of Fame. We go through and find dead podcasts and we induct them into the Hall of Fame.
That is brilliant. How about the ones where like, okay, well, yeah, this one no longer has anything in its feed, but we'll just read the descriptions.
Yes. Yeah.
We couldn't actually listen to the show, but boy, this sounds shitty.
Right? Oh man. We could even do a moving the needle like retro logo and have a retro shirt on there because the original one is dead, but long live Moving the Needle. So oh man, that could be fun actually. Actually could be a really fun podcast.
It really could be. Just diving into just finding old because
Anyway. All right, well we've gone way over here, so we should probably wrap it up. If you want to hear more from me and Henno, check out the Crazy Life podcast, which can be found anywhere you find podcasts pretty much. Or there's a link if you go to saltylanguage.com. There's a picture of me looking like I'm yelling or angry. I believe Tony's got the link right around there or something like that. And while you're on saltylanguage.com, you can check out the networks we're part of, like the Tangent Bound Network, which can be found at tangentboundnetwork.com. And
Danger! Watch your back! Danger!
Entertainment, which can be found at dangerentertainment.net. So go check those places out. You may find some other podcasts that tickle your fancy or other parts of you. I don't know.
Or your other nether.
Yeah. Like go listen to our liner notes with Henno on it, since we can openly promote it on this show.
Yes, actually,
lots
you
of
can,
nerdy talk.
If you want, so the drummer I used to play with, my good friend Dave, was asking me about podcasts. Like, hey, can I listen to? And I'm like, I just did this one for our liner notes. It's all about sex and music, So it's like, a music playlist, and then we, and I overshare about everything. And he goes, all right, that sounds good. Send me a link. So I sent him a link to it, and it was about an hour later. He goes, wow, my life is really, really boring. Like, wow, I'm normal.
Yeah. Part of the vanilla patrol. What are you going to do?
So you're enthusiast number 3, those dark angels and pretty freaks, idiots.
Idiots, that's what it was. I couldn't remember. I knew Neil said it during the show. So, and I believe right then I was like, that's the title of this episode, and there it is.
January 16th, 2015.
Yep. That's good fun.
And then we
listen.
we wrapped up Gotham Lights. We had the last episode of Gotham, and it was it's kind of a standalone. It's the arrival of Batman in Gotham.
Yeah, it really, from the stuff I read and whatever, it seems like in some ways it could almost have been like the launch of a new show.
It absolutely could have been. It could have been a pilot.
Not
episode.
that I'm advocating that. Like, let's just let this thing rest.
Yeah. Well, it was actually, I would have, this actually would have been a better pilot, because what it did is it focused on GCPD, and Batman was just kind of around in the distance. It was very much like Gotham Central,
the whole time,
is what everybody wanted to.
It's what everybody wanted it to be, and it would have been awesome if they would have done that. But anyway,
and they pretty much had that thing written like 3 years ago, or who knows how many seasons ago. Like from the beginning, this was the final one. So, but we're going to retire Gotham Lights. We're changing everything, and we're going to be the Orville Lights for when Orville kicks back in at the end of the summer. And in the meantime, we're going to be eventually getting together and talking maybe some moving the needle possibilities.
So, which awesome, but I think it's really funny that that you're changing the name to Orville Lights, when the reason that Lights is part of the title is because Gotham Knight is what Batman has been referred to. Gotham Knights was kind of a play on Batman Plus. It was a group of people talking about, the show. Batman. And in the show Gotham, and now you're taking, and it's totally out of context. It does not fit with Orville, but but you guys switched it to Lights because the other was so negative. So Lights became the play on it. So it's just funny to me the evolution of that name. I love it. So, all right, well, Heno, how can they find you on other places?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Ida Heno, and check out. I think it's still I think it's still Gorville Lights.
Oh yeah, Twitter. I think it is. Yeah,
if you want to look at that, but either way,
right.
Check out that podcast. Yeah, and definitely, if you have time, come and hang out with me, Brian, and Jen on The Crazy Life.
Yep. You can find this show on Twitter at salty_language. You can find me at Stunami. I threw myself off because I went out of order from normal. Oh, man. Anyway, all the stuff's at saltylanguage.com. We're Salty Language Pod on YouTube, where we normally put a live show up, or at least you could check out the replay of the live show if you'd like to. Not for this episode, but... Well, you can listen to the audio for this episode, but that's about it. And you can find us on Instagram at Salty Language, where I know Tony posts a variety of things. So go check all that stuff out. Again, all the links to social medias and whatnot are on saltylanguage.com. So and one last thing, if you haven't taken the time to rate, review, or subscribe, we'd appreciate it if you would. And if you don't, that's fine too. Whatever. Honestly, the longer I go, the more I think it doesn't matter. But I've read and heard some things about the Apple algorithms and whatnot that kind of confirm what I've been thinking. But anyway, So I guess until next time, have a beer, you'll be fine.
Yeah, go bleed testosterone.
I really need to. I mean, is that the secondary form of the old German bleed out?